All right. Let's get this show on the road. I just got to do a little copy and some quick over there. Then I'm going to let some folks in, like Etienne, who's been waiting in the room for a few minutes. And here we go. Good day, friend.
Good day, sir. And a happy, wonderful new year to you too, sir.
Well, and to you as well. I'm not sure why my AirPods aren't working, but I'm going to go in and try and fix that right now. It's nice to see you, brother. It's been far too long.
When was our last hash church, by the way? Just out of curiosity.
I'm not even sure. Probably the last, well, maybe not the last one. I think you weren't able to make it or something.
Yeah, I think I did miss that last one. Yep, you're right.
Well, I'm trying desperately to get my headphones to work. They are not working. Let's hope that I don't have too much of a problem today with feedback and whatnot.
None here, but no issues. So far, so smoothly.
I think I got to do it inside here, actually, real quick, and then I'll go on and we can fix this. Oh, here we go. Audio. Yes, speaker, Marcus's AirPod Pro. Say something, Etienne.
Say something, Etienne.
You're in my ears.
Aw, ear candy.
Hey, let's let Mark in. Mark is the breeder who created that hash church cultivar.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so we're going to let him in. We're going to let Wade in.
Happy Hashy New Year, everybody.
Yes, hashiest of New Year's. I love it. Let's see if these guys come in without a problem with their audio or their technical.
I see Mark. I see Wade.
I see them both as well. Is your audio working, gentlemen?
Hey guys, how's it going?
Hey, Mark's working.
Happy New Year's, fellas.
Happy New Year's to you, brother. And welcome to Hash Church. I got to introduce you real quick. So Mark is a guy that hit me up and he said, I got this cultivar and I want to name it Hash Church. And I was kind of like, I want to name it Hash Church. Like, whoa. Let's talk about this. We can't just be naming anything Hash Church. This is like a long running show. And I started talking to Mark, and very humble guy, very kind guy, quite obviously a very Canadian guy, actually. And he starts hitting me up. He sends me a little flower first. He's like, I want you to see this flower. I can say that because it's totally legal in Canada to send someone some cannabis flowers. Isn't that amazing? That shit wasn't happening in 2019, but here in 2021, Mark could send me some flowers. So he sends me this, okay? He sends me this flower. So look at this flower.
Little frosty, little nud.
Just covered, bro. Like covered to the point of like, even right away when I posted it, people were like, oh, is that hooked trichomes? Are they real trichomes? Because it just looks so ridiculous. Like it's so furry and frosty. So Mark was like, look, he sent me a cut. I completely shit the bed on the cut. Was unable to take care of it, but I was able to share it with a friend. So we still have it growing and we're still going to see it bloom. Mark didn't want to wait. He was like, I'll send you some flour, run some bubble, which I did. I got the bubble in pizza boxes over there. It's very lovely, melty bubble, blonde, tasty, flavorful bubble. Reminds me of some old school Dutch treat that I used to grow back in the day that was also very, very coated in resin. So we've invited Mark in. We're going to end up talking about this Hash Church cultivar throughout the day here. And I wanted to make him a part of the show, just sort of kind of, share my thanks with him. And also kind of apologize because I've been so busy. And here we are during a global pandemic, things are going rough for Mark and his family. Like it's not just smooth sailing. They're really trying to hold it together and rock and roll and make things work out. And now they're sitting on this cultivar. And the minute I posted it, I'm certain the guy could have probably sold 50,000 seeds, people just hitting him up left, right, and center. And he's like, look, I'm not going to sell any of this. I just want to make sure you're good with it, that it's the Hash Church cultivar, that it's real. I'm not trying to build fake hype and all this sort of stuff. So that's kind of the story behind Mark. Just seemed like a good dude with a nice cultivar And I thought, yeah, it's a beautiful cultivar. Me allowing him to name it Hash Church is nothing more than me saying, sure, you can name it Hash Church. We're not partnering up. I'm not going into the seed business to make money off cultivars. That's none of what I'm interested in. But I love the idea of helping good folks. And the bubble did come out very, very nicely. I also pressed a little bit of rosin. It had a really nice kind of unique, almost an old school high, if that makes any sense. And welcome to Hash Church, Mark. How's that for a build up?
Thanks, brother. Appreciate it. Yeah, it was. It's been a long little journey with this little plant for sure. Very interesting.
Yeah,
some mysterious things have come up with it throughout its little journey too, which is, yeah, it's very cool. Thanks, brother.
Yeah, absolutely. Welcome. And welcome to you, Mr. House of Harlequin Wade. It's been a while since I saw your smiley, beautiful face as well. So we want to welcome you to the room and
thank you, Marcus.
Welcome your energy.
Yes. It's good to see you and Etienne, and always fun to hear about new cultivars. Having a good year already. And really looking forward to hearing how everyone else is doing and what you're doing. And like that. I got some news at some point to share.
Beautiful. I love it. I love the sounds of kind of everyone doing that, sharing some news, talking about the old year, talking about the new year. I did come to the conclusion the other day that 2021 can be spelt out 2020 1 WON, but we won't have that because 2021 is a new year, and we're gonna bust it out, and we've got the.
And then there's 2022.
Oh. Oh, snap. Man. We're in 2020 for a couple more years. Is that what you're saying?
It's almost like a sequel going on. 2021, 22, 23. Who knows? No, I feel like things are going to get better. And hello, Etienne.
Hello, Wade. Much love and respect. Good to see you're well and doing what you do so well.
Having a good time.
Well, that's what we're looking for. Happy times.
Ooh. Well, shout out to Chimera. He just sent me an email saying he's not going to be able to make it today as he has no heat, and he's trying to sort that out. So welcome to Canada. Welcome to, I'm not even sure where Chimera is these days, to be honest, but he's usually kind of in a wooded area. So it makes sense. Yesterday was wicked windy. And I'm surprised I have power right now, actually. It's kind of a blessing that we're able to do this first of the Hash Church. We're going to talk about that, Mr. Bingo Lombardi. We're going to get into it in a little bit. Don't worry about that. I'm just going to let Alison in. I invited a ton of awesome people into Hash Church today. Friends and fam that I haven't seen in a long time, that we haven't been able to kind of connect. Some of you I connect with the odd time on Zoom chats, like Mr. Collin Palmer. Welcome, Collin. I see him every once in a while, but I don't get to see all of you, and I will apologize to the entire Hash Church community because I do feel like I've dropped the ball a little bit. I guess we got to the point where Hash Church felt secure enough of a show that even if I didn't do it for months and months, all I had to do was text you guys, we get back together and we have a show, and that's kind of how it started to play out. But I have a lot of people. We have to understand that there's a group of people, hundreds of them, that look forward to gathering on Sundays while we yammer on about whatever it is we yammer on. And they're in the chat room right now. There is about 260 people in the chat room right now. And these are the guys and gals that look forward to whatever it is we're discussing. And I saw one of them today say, man, I wish we could do more Hash Churches. You know, I miss gathering with all of you guys. And I sometimes forget that we're the key holders in that gathering. You know, if we make the point on showing up, everyone gets to gather, everyone gets to enjoy themselves. So I do thank all of you for taking some time out on a Sunday morning. I appreciate it. I really do. And Johnny B's in the house too. I think I saw him sneak in. We got Johnny B in the house over there. Yep, there he is. He's got his whole headset on. Looks like he's about to take off on a plane.
I was trying with the headset, but they're not working, so I'll plug in the Yeti microphone.
All right.
Phone check right now.
Oh, that's much better, dude. Right there is that's it.
Sure, I came in clear for 2021 because I'm clear-headed and we're ready to start growing. I'm so excited for this year being the grow year of 2021. Everybody's just got to start popping seeds, popping those genetics, and let's get the grow on. That's what I'm saying.
Grow your plants like Johnny B is growing his hair. That's what's up
said
right
I
there.
wasn't going to cut the hair. I said, you know what? I had my hair cut last year in January when I went for the Lift conference. And then after that, then all of this pandemic stuff came up, and I'm like, I'm not going to cut my hair. Well, guess what? I'm going to start going to the mosh pits.
With all your broken bones and broken spine, you're going to go to the mosh pits. I wouldn't even be surprised.
You got to do the motion. You got to move the whole body.
Dude,
now.
I would not even be surprised if I was in a Slayer mosh pit and I looked over and saw you.
Oh, you'd see me there. Slipknot all there. I'll be right in there. But you know, I've been kind of striving. I couldn't find a screen for my hash pipe all morning, so I pulled out some nice Congo dabs just to kind of bring in the 2021. And I think we should be doing a nice big dab. Let's do it.
Well, I like it. Let's show everyone. Let's show the cameras what we got, everybody. I'm going to go to gallery view so everyone can see what we're holding up. I've got a little strawberry banana from Concentrated X looking oh so greasy.
Nice. I got some 9110, and this here, guys, is the LA Kush Cake, and this is some fire bubble. This is some of the best that I've managed to get my hands on. I'm really happy with this.
Beautiful. I see Wade held up some nice big chunks of hash, and Collin had some jars of goodness there.
Yeah, got some lemon cake, some square wave, Jabba stash from Bodie. Big shout out to Bodie. Really enjoy his work.
And I've still got my amalgam that goes back to 2012.
Wow.
My everlasting gobstopper that I keep adding to. So still going.
Figured I should bring a plant in today, you know, show it off in House Church.
Ooh, what's that, Johnny?
This is Medi Kush, and
what's the nose on Medi? How's that? How's the terpene profile on that? What's the
terpene profile?
Yeah, what does it smell like?
Gas.
It smells gassy. I've been on, you know, it's one of those strains. It's gas. It's an original Kush. I used to call it like a pure Kush. It's like Carmel would say, it's like a pre-93 Bubba. Like he really liked it too.
Nice.
It's just one of those special.
How old is she?
Pardon me?
How old is she?
I've been running the same strain since 2005. 15 years from seed.
Way to be.
Yeah, it's definitely
got
one of those
long haulers myself that I've kept.
How many weeks is she in flower currently?
This is day 56. And by scoping it last night, I got amber trichomes, all milky, no clear at all. So it's pretty much, it's at that stage that it's going to get washed probably today or tomorrow.
Beautiful. Hey, I want to welcome Alison into the room. Look at that. Welcome, Alison.
Thanks. It's been a long time.
It's been forever. How the heck have you been?
I have been amazing. I have metamorphosed from doing the edibles to actually accepting my doctorate. I actually had a doctorate the whole time I was in cannabis, and I just never used it. And Dr. Sunil Agarwal approached me when there was a flux, a change between medical and recreational, and he started a cannabis and psychedelic integrative medicine practice up here in Seattle. So now that's what I'm doing. I'm practicing psychotherapy with cannabis and psychedelics, and it's really amazing. It's probably some of the best work I've ever done.
Well, that's what's up. And it doesn't even surprise me in the least, because the mushroom has been boring its little way back into my life, like so crazy. I can't even like tell you all how hardcore the mushroom. And now just to give everyone a little idea, you know, I've had a relationship with the mushroom for a very long time, since the late 80s, early 90s, when my roommate Jason ordered spores from Syzygy company that was owned by Kat and Terrence McKenna. We ordered the Syzygy strain, which is the parental stock of the penis envy mushroom nowadays. Syzygy is, of course, the mushroom that Dennis McKenna and Terence McKenna collected in the Amazon during the 70s prior to writing their book, The Mushroom Grower's Guide, which was one of the first times people were able to gather information on cultivating mushrooms indoors. They took it a step further. I guess there was a priest down in the Amazon who had cleared some trees to raise some cattle. The cattle started shitting, the shit started spawning, the mushrooms started speaking, and the McKennas started listening. And that sort of brought the mushroom to Hawaii, which we shipped it in a spore print over to Winnipeg, Manitoba, an absolute incubator of alcoholism, where we thought, let's see if we can get less people to drink alcohol and trip out on these wonderful mushrooms that were growing in my closet at the time in grain prior to the PF tech. So we didn't have the old distilled spores in water that we could just inject. We actually were forced to use transfer chambers where you had to, take the old gloves and build them into a box and do everything inside that, which was a little bit, a step above growing cannabis, which we thought was pretty amazing at the time. But all of a sudden, inoculating mycelium into agar, transferring agar into grain, casing grain and growing and fruiting mushrooms. This was a whole other incredible experience. And I cannot tell you how blessed I am to have had that experience, to have had the mushroom in my life. I'll never forget stumping Paul Stamets at the Psychedelic Gathering in Whistler one year, where I got to meet the entire psychedelic family, from Ralph Metzner to Jonathan Ott to Paul Stamets to Finn McKenna was there at the time. His father, Terence, had just passed away. But it was really quite an incredible time. And Paul Stamets walked by my booth that I had, and I was selling bubble bags, and I had a macro photograph from Joop Dumas in Amsterdam. And I said to Paul, I said, can you identify this mushroom? And he stood there for 3 or 4 minutes with this totally stumped look on his face. And I finally said, listen, it's actually a glandular trichome, just busting your balls. And it was pretty funny. I do look forward to seeing him again one day and bringing that up, because I guarantee you he won't forget being stumped on a mushroom identification photo that indeed was not a mushroom. So awesome to hear that you're doing all of that. Dr. Alison Draisin. I love it.
We're actually, Dennis McKenna and Paul Stamets are currently working with our clinic because we've had a hard time with decrim in Washington State of psychedelics. We're not as fantastic as Oregon. And so we're trying to come at it from another perspective with the right to try psilocybin. And so we're currently, we have submitted documentation to the DEA to do psilocybin for end of life. And so a couple of my patients are part of the study to be able to use it, terminal cancer patients. So we work with McKenna and Stamets as well, because Stamets is helping us procure the psilocybin for our project.
Well, I'm going to put up a cyanescent mushroom cap that I photographed with my macro camera. I've never photographed psilocybin mushrooms with my macro photograph, but as we're talking about the mushroom, I feel, and this is another sort of trippy thing that the mushroom pulled me forward. I discovered cyanescence mushrooms growing on a grow that I had back 20 plus years ago. We seen some dreadlocked kid picking mushrooms like it was going out of style in our front yard. And we're just trying to, grow cannabis illegally at the time, not let anyone know. And we see this kid, and I buy Paul's book, and I start to discover that this is one of the single largest patches of cyanescence that I have ever seen in my life. This kid must have gotten 8 to 10 pounds before we finally caught him and said, please stop picking the mushrooms on our property and heating us out. We have an illegal grow over there. We didn't say that, but we were definitely feeling it. And so recently, 20 plus years later, 22 years later, I was pulled in by the mushroom again this year. I don't know if any of you saw some of the mushroom photos I've been posting, but we found some massive cyanescent flushes here in Vancouver. Really, like I'm talking, me and my friend were rolling around on the ground, giggling like schoolgirls. We were so giddy. It was just the most exciting, amazing thing to see the mushroom come back full circle into my life. I've been doing micro doses to the macro doses I did for so many years. When we first started growing Terence's mushrooms, we were pretty much of the belief system that if we didn't eat 5 grams in a dark room, that there was no purpose or point in eating these mushrooms. So I see Wade tilting his head back and laughing like, oh, young people, like, oh my God. Because we were like teenagers and in our just young 20s. And I
No,
really
laughing at having done that myself.
absolutely. And
Yeah.
it was the most amazing thing. And so many people that have asked me over the years, do you go to university? Like, where did you go to university? And I really take a quote once again out of Paul Stamets's book when I saw him speak in Vancouver. And I believe it was 1995, the first year that I actually met Dave Skunk Man Sam. He was at this event as well. It was kind of like a hemp and psychedelic event. And Jonathan Ott was thanking the people at Harvard, and, everyone was thanking Yale University and all of these super brilliant men that went to these incredible institutions. And then Paul Stamets gets up and he's kind of got a disheveled shirt on. He says, "Oh, wow. I learned everything I learned from the mushroom." And standing ovation, like right away. Already he's like just taking all the universities and push them off to the side. And he's like, I just want to give props where props are due. Not that Harvard and Yale and all those amazing people aren't great, but the mushroom taught me everything. And I would really say the same thing. So it's really wonderful to see. Of course, cannabis is an accelerator. Of course, cannabis, once it breaks through and gets to, breaks through into legalization, into breaking out of prohibition, psychedelic plants are going to be a close follow-up. It makes sense as you open your mind to stopping believing in the propaganda that has been so strong over the last several, 100+ years. And if for people that want to get into this, there's an incredible book out there called The Immortal Key. And it really shows the history of when psychedelics took a left turn and Christianity took a right turn. And you ended up with this really divisive split between the Greek way of thinking, that scientific sort of proof, versus the Paleo-Christian way of thinking, which is really that faithful way. They took the rapture out of the experience. They removed all of the psychedelic sacraments. They replaced it with the blood of Christ, of course, which we all know how well that did for indigenous people around the world. And here we are today. So that's kind of my rant. I want to welcome the Turners because they just showed up, and somehow Colton became a man since last time he was here. I don't know what's going on, but Colton's a man now. And here we are in 2021. Welcome, Turners.
Hey,
what's up, guys? How's everybody?
Hey,
Dude,
Colton, you got something on your lip right up here.
And on his chin. Look at his chin. Look at this.
Oh,
He's got
shit.
the shaggy going on.
It's my
Our little boy is
fur.
growing
Leave me
up.
alone.
I love
I
it,
know.
Colton. I love it.
Yeah, he's going to actually be 21 this year.
Holy smokes.
Yeah.
Okay. That threw me for a
I'm
loop.
excited.
Congratulations, Team Turner, getting to 21.
I know. I was so excited.
When I first got diagnosed, they didn't think I'd live to be 15. Here I am, going on 21.
Yep.
Exactly.
So if
I like
that doesn't
it.
show you that cannabis works.
Yeah, that illegally alive thing really worked out for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Unfortunately, he still has to be illegally alive like many others in the United States, which kind of sucks. But I'm so glad to see your little spore behind you. We're really excited about mushrooms and psilocybin and all the crazy stuff that's going on with that, and the decrim that happened in Oregon and California, or did it happen in California? Well,
Sure.
some of the states down here. So we're really excited for that. We're hoping that we'll be able to try mushrooms for his headaches one of these days.
Awesome. It's coming. There's no doubt about it. There's no stopping it. Pandora's box, once you open her up, she's super hard to close back up. That's what the story says anyway. So it's exciting
I
to
hope
see.
so.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and you know what? The psychedelic mushrooms are really just the tip of the iceberg, because with what, Paul's got going on, and a lot of people in the community right now that have going on, Dragonfly Earth Medicine, who I hope to see here later on. I've been taking their capsules. I take Paul's capsules, lion's mane, but I also take the chaga and the turkey tail and cordyceps and a whole variety of other mushrooms that Dragonfly Earth Medicine put into their capsules. So I'm always enjoying both of those capsules, and I just can't say enough about all of these medicinal mushrooms and the nootropics and how they offer, this regeneration to your brain and this elasticity as you grow older for memory. And it's just, I can't say enough about it. I don't know the most about it, so I won't say too much, but there's some very interesting conversations to be had around this fungus for sure. And I thought, you know what? getting the macro camera out and starting to shoot it and see it in a way that I've never seen it before. Also, just like cannabis, really opened my mind to learning more about the mushroom. And yeah, I can't say enough about the mushroom.
I'm really excited about I'm really excited about the future of mushrooms. We don't know anything about it. We're kind of going into mushrooms like we did cannabis, completely just like new and fresh, and it's a mushroom. That's all we know. We know that people call it psilocybin, and now we know that there's a little nickname called silly, and that's all we know about it. But some of the things that I've seen and heard it's the same path that we were taking with cannabis. So when they say that cannabis is a gateway drug, it really is, because it's opened our mind and opened our opportunities to so many different things. And mushrooms hopefully can be one of these. We're hoping to be able to give them to Colton because he has migraine headaches. And we've heard so many good stories about it. Our friend Dr. Sue Sisley is doing a lot of research on psilocybin, and she really believes that if Colton could access that, then she thinks that it would really break through his migraine headaches, and he wouldn't have to take sumatriptan and nortriptyline and gabapentin and things like that they're wanting to prescribe him for migraine headaches. So we're really excited for that legislation to come through, and we're hoping that eventually we'll be able to get involved in that and understand a little bit more about psilocybin and mushrooms and stuff like that. So,
well, I can tell you that the mushroom is actually excited about the Turners becoming proponents of the mushroom, because the mushroom has seen what you've done for the cannabis plant. And I guarantee you, it won't be too different for the mushroom. When you say you jumped in like newbies, I was going to say you did like a triple backflip off the high diving board. Isn't that usually how the Turners enter a community?
We physically can do that. I mean, we are gymnasts, so I do own.
That's what I'm saying. Right? That's awesome. Well, I look forward to sharing the journey with you guys. I love this whole psychedelic renaissance that we're in the middle of, that I can't help but think that cannabis had an incredible impact on the cracking of the core of the social fabric that allowed this to start taking place and to start rooting. And it's been a long, long, long journey. When you think of so many years back, R. Gordon Wasson stepping into Maria Sabina's little hut to take the psilocybin mushrooms for the first time, that really started it out. If you guys want to learn about psilocybin mushrooms and how they kind of ended up into the Western society, check out R. Gordon Wasson. And he wrote a really great article. Is anyone going to remember the name of the article he wrote in Time or Life magazine on the mushroom, the simple mushroom, or anyway, if you Google it, you'll come up with it pretty quick. Definitely a good spot to start. And that's where a lot of people kind of.
I'm going to pop in here. There's a really great book, a primer that I recommend for all of my clients who are interested in exploring psychedelics to change their mind. And it's Michael Pollan's How to Change Your Mind. It's just a really great basic book. And I have to say, everything that you're talking about, Marcus, psychedelics are the best tool in my toolbox. And I've actually been a psychologist for almost 30 years. It's the easiest pathway to explore your mind and to let go of the old ghosts.
How do you spell Pollan? How do you spell his last name?
Pollan.
It's a great book. It's a great. All of his books are great.
Yeah,
he's out of Oregon, and you can get it on Audible as well.
Okay, great.
He's not at Berkeley anymore?
He's
not teaching there anymore. I remember he was teaching for a while.
He might be. The last I heard from folks in my office was that he was down in Oregon, and it could just be he was working with the Oregon psilocybin crew.
He's amazing. He jumps in full throttle to whatever he's doing, and he jumped into psychedelics and took some pretty heavy trips as an older gentleman. And to me, my hat's off, and I gave him respect for jumping in and doing it the right way. And of course, he's an absolutely impeccable writer. That's what he specializes in, writing. And if you haven't read The Omnivore's Dilemma or the Botany of Desire, these are all spectacular books that he has written. R. Gordon Wasson's article was called Seeking the Magic Mushroom. It was published in May of 1957 in Life magazine, and you guys can check that out as well. And she's right. That is absolutely the place to start, is How to Change Your Mind. I listened to it a couple months back on Audible. It was awesome.
I mean, getting through this whole pandemic craziness, almost every one of my clients is currently microdosing in some fashion, with a macro dose thrown in there for good measure. Because we have no control over the craziness that's going on in our world. So it's a perfect time to really investigate your psyche and come to some form of happiness from within.
Well, you just called it, because listen, life isn't about figuring out how to stop suffering. Life is suffering. You're going to suffer throughout the whole thing. It's how you react to your suffering. This is the great trick. This is what Thich Nhat Hanh says in his wonderful book, The Art of Living. If you haven't listened to that book or read that book, this is another amazing book that will bring you solace. In Western society, we tend to have foundational belief systems that set us up for anguish and pain. Okay, we become attached. We become attached to our little dog. When our little dog dies, we're shattered. We become attached to our parents. When our parents die, we're shattered. Well, there's different ways of having your belief systems switch, so that once you don't believe that death is final, that belief system, well, it opens up a whole other, opportunity to remove some of that suffering, or at least some of that reactionary suffering, that, how we react to our suffering. So that's the big trick in life. And I think I said it recently when someone asked me, what do you think about this mushroom thing? Is it just going to be a big corporate takeover and blah, 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 blah. And I said, yes and no. I mean, what I really think about it is that it's probably the most important thing in regards to psychology and psychiatry, being able to remove ourselves from the pharmaceutical drugs that people are currently taking, messing with brain chemistries, when you have access to fungi and plants that do it, but on a very different level, in a very more personal sort of soul-seeking level. Already with people who are terminally ill, they're finding a single dose of psilocybin done and taken the right way with the right person can give them instantaneous relief of death. Because here's the thing, when you realize that death is actually just a transition, just like you're transitioning your suffering into happiness, just like you transitioned your fetus into birth, there's no death. And once you have that revelation, of course, you're going to be less stressed out about death when you have a complete and total understanding that death is a complete and total illusion. And it's not really real. It's just another transformation. So these are things I think the world desperately needs right now, maybe a little bit more than another 4 hours of CNN. But we are.
But Michael's book also spoke to the reconnecting that psychedelic mushrooms do, and especially in older patients and people who are suffering trauma. It reconnects nerves and neural pathways in the brain that I think is exponential to human healing, especially during this most troubled time of COVID, but especially is going to be needed for these healthcare workers who, as a combat vet, I can see the 1,000-yard stare in these poor workers. My sister's a nurse, and others that are just dealing with death day in and day out. They're going to need this therapy as well. And the older patients and those that survive the damage that's done, they're going to need it for healing, especially mentally.
Yeah, it's good that you're bringing that up, Etienne. That's something I was gonna chime in on. Is, to me, it's like being in the pocket when you're playing music with other instrumentation, happening around you. You're in the pocket, and that opens up doorways and pathways to go anywhere you want and do things musically that you could otherwise wouldn't be doing, because you're getting yourself and your mind out of the way, and you're allowing yourself to exist and get in touch with yourself and the pathways that allow you to be so in tune with the things that you're doing and the things.
Collin, you just described a part of this new movie from Pixar called Soul. And I don't know if any of you guys have seen this movie, but it's heavy, really heavy. There's the guy, he's a piano jazz player. And when he goes into the pocket in his improvisation, he disappears and he goes to a place where the new souls are born. And they call it the pocket. He's like floating in a purple energy, just like improvising.
In musical terms, like Trey Anastasius said me point blank to my face, I'm constantly trying to get out of my own way. That's my dream, is to just get myself out of my way. So I'm just channeling this energy and these things, and it's all about dexterity and just being in touch with your body. And that's music in a sense. It's also cannabinoids, and it's also psilocybin. It's all of these things, and how that all works, is going to be individual for everyone, but the general ideology of a pocket, we as musicians, speaking in musical terms, we always talk about this, and it's really, really great that we're all talking about this with these chemicals, because it's true. It's so true. You really can't get past yourself if you're thinking about it. You're never gonna get it, if that's we're using it as the analogy.
Well, when you say I need to get out of my own way, what you're really saying is I really need to get my ego off the couch, out of the steering wheel, out of the driver's seat. And that ego disillusion, people enforce this, that they are their egos. And that's where you're also setting yourself up for some massive, massive pain and anguish, because you aren't. It's just a mental construct that you created throughout your life based on your experiences. I wouldn't say that it's nothing, because I truly believe the ego is sort of the controller. It's the value of this experience. If we come from the everything, we come here, we're split, we're divided, we're fractured. We get to become this single I, and then we go back to the source. So this experience, really probably some of the most valuable experiences that we have on earth, is that relationship with building our ego and designing our ego and using our ego to navigate this three-dimensional reality that we're currently in. Because souls, or whatever you want to call that life energy, they don't have that ability. Like, this is the valuable universal, all the souls are lining up with their quarters to get a turn at Earth. This is the game that's got the lineup in the arcade. And here we all are. And what a joy that we found things like cannabis. We found things like the psychedelic mushroom. Thank God for the people and the proponents who now are the people here on this very panel. But when we were growing up, we all had different shoulders of giants. Well, I mean, Wade and Sam were still there back when we were all barely a blink in our daddy's eye. But it's a neat thing to have been able to stand on the shoulders of giants and to pass on this information. And as fast as information is passing, it's still very, very, very slow. And nothing's quicker than, in my opinion, eating the flesh of that mushroom, smoking the resin of that cannabis plant. And that is where I really start to gather information and learn and put things together. So thank you, each and every one of you, for taking this journey and sharing it with everyone, because we're all learning from it. There's no doubt about that.
Colton was 13 when we started our cannabis journey. And now he's going to be 21 this year. We're looking at 7 years of just cannabis reform, and it's still not even there. We still have in the United States, we still have like 19 states that haven't legalized anything. And so now we're starting a whole new journey with psilocybin, trying to get it legalized. And I'm like, why is it taking so long when we can get a vaccine for COVID within 8 months? It just doesn't make any sense to me. And I don't understand why we have these beautiful plants and this ability to heal ourselves, and we are making it illegal, and people are keeping it illegal. For what reason? I can't wrap my head around
to let us know just how important they are. That's the reason. And that's the reason we do what we do. Yeah, it's the only reason. It's like they're literally shining a spotlight on all the most important things in the universe, basically. And we're just over here looking like, hey, what about this over here? Like, we should be allowed to have this. And welcome to the Dragonfly Earth Medicine.
Exactly. I just don't understand it.
It's impossible to understand, but thank goodness we have people in the world like you, Wendy, who just they see right through it. And they're like, you know what? There's bigger things for me than to swallow a bunch of bullshit that's being fed to me by a news person or a news anchor. I've got this real thing here, my 13-year-old son who basically just about died in a lake and almost drowned. And now something else isn't right. So I don't really have time for all this bullshit over here. And that's how you tear through all of that crap in a very quick manner. Now, to me, I was just as blown away when, people, I think it was Chris Christie that like the dad like approached Chris Christie and was like, my kid will die without this medicine. My kid has epilepsy and will die without this medicine. And he was just like, yeah, no, sorry, you can't, we can't, like right to the guy's face even. I was just like, wow, like it was almost like when Donald Trump made fun of the guy with the arm, the reporter. That was also like a sign like, oh, of course this is going to take forever, because if he could maintain a presidency after doing that, well, then anything's game. It's like, of course, like, oh, what, children in America are dying because they don't have access to cannabis? We'll get some synthetic stuff your way as soon as we can. We just got to wrap up these patents, make sure that the profit margins
has to be FDA approved.
Got to be FDA approved. You know, it's going to take 7 years unless it's a vaccine for COVID. We'll hammer that out in 9 months.
We did the same thing.
Let's send millions of dollars to other countries, but each American can only get $600.
We did the same thing when we were lobbying in DC one year, and we went to our representative in Colorado Springs, and his name is Doug Lamborn. And that son of a bitch, I'm telling you, he looked straight at my face and said, if it's not FDA approved, then there's nothing I can do about it. And I said, can we fast track it? And he said, well, yeah, of course, we'll sign a bill to fast track it. And I said, we will be the face of that bill. I said, we will do anything that it takes to get that bill fast tracked and FDA approved. And I said, but what are we supposed to do in the meantime? And he said, there's nothing I can do about it. And I said, well, my kid will die without this medicine. You know, he can't take the regular westernized medications. He's not going to survive that. And he looked at me and he said, that's not my problem.
Ooh. Oh,
and I went off. I was so freaking mad. And I'm like, yes, it is your problem. It absolutely is your problem. And I'm like, so you're going to tell me that it's okay for me, that I'm just supposed to let Colton die because this is not an FDA approved medicine?
God.
And I was appalled. I could not believe it. And then to see the same things happening all over the United States, you know, and even in other countries, I just don't understand how people can't be more compassionate about the life of an individual. You know, even with this COVID stuff, you know, there were so many people that said, well, if you can't survive it, then you're not supposed to survive it. I'm like, but, you know, it just stay in your house. And I'm like, but, you know, Colton makes a difference in the world. You know, he tries to make a difference in the world. It's what we do. And you're telling me that his difference that he's made in the world isn't worth it anymore, that he needs to just stay home and not, so you can't wear a mask so Colton can actually go out and do the things that he does to make your life better. But it's the compassion and just the simplicity of all of this that just boggles my mind. And I'm so glad to be able to move into a journey in my life where I'm more woke. I wish that I was even more woke, but I used to be that dare mom. And now you know, since cannabis saved Colton's life, I'm looking at other things thinking, oh my gosh, what more is there out there?
Greatest dare mom transition ever, by the way. I just want to throw that out there.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
It must be the most epic I've ever seen.
Oh, wow.
Most epic.
Just walk in. Mike.
Hey everyone, how's it going?
Y'all stepped above
Here's the
everything.
warrior. Mike was diagnosed with different cancers. Quite a story, and same thing, Colton. He grabbed it by the ball. He started using cannabis. I mean, just quite an amazing story, both of you guys. It's great. He just walked in. Mike's coming in to work in the garden, but I thought, you know what, jump in here and say hi, Mike, because
Okay, Happy New Year, Mike. It's good to see you, and it's really nice to see that you have absolutely kicked cancer's ass, because I know it had a deep grasp on you. You weren't the stage 1 guy. You were deep in it.
Well, I don't know what stage you would call it, but it was a crucial tumor that needed to be removed, and it was tenacious because it kept coming back. And due to its rarity, that's why we were tackling it with cannabis, because they couldn't figure it out. They thought cutting it out would be good enough, but no, it's just not.
they removed a rib, they removed tumors. You've had over 26 surgeries. Mike's got quite an amazing story, and cannabis has since changed his life completely. And you're on RSO daily. He makes his own. He gets. He went and got his own. What's the machine he has?
The extract. Mind blank now.
Mind blank, which is awesome. But I mean, all these little things.
Exact extract.
And I've been talking with Mike about mushrooms and stuff, and I was going to mention that, Turner. I mean, for me, I was having bad migraine and cluster headaches from my 28-foot fall, and in 2007, I took a microdose of mushrooms at 420, and my headaches never came back. I couldn't handle my tension headaches and stuff like that. I mean, I've been previously using mushrooms in the past, but it really became medicinal when I was going through that time with my injuries. And mushrooms was that next step of me being able to move forward with what had happened to me. So definitely go down that pathway. Yeah. Microdosing is huge when it comes to dealing with headaches and migraines for me, myself. And I know lots of testimonials that people do the same thing, and it's a great reward. So enjoy your journey.
Just a little bit at a time.
That's it. Yeah. That's it, guys. That's it. You know, right before he came in and introduced Mike, I was kind of thinking, as Wendy was talking and a few people in the room were talking about what it is. This is, you know, like, you just can't imagine. You're like, this is my child. Like, what are you, evil? And you start thinking, and I'm sure they're just probably the wrong terms to think of it as. They're just these opposing forces, whether it's darkness and light or good and evil. Try to get out of that mentality, because they're really both wings on the same bird. But it really is this like opposing energy that's built into all of life. You know, all of life entropies, all of life dies. And so you got to just think that without that opposing energy, there couldn't be the other side to the opposing energy. And it's this sort of journey that we take. And you just want to, you know, you want everyone to just come on, let's get everyone on side. And it seems to be an impossible factor. It's that there always has to be both sides to the coin, or the coin itself can't exist. It seems to be a very important part of the illusion that certainly on 4 or 5 grams of dried psilocybin mushrooms, you can break through and experience something far, far beyond that. Or maybe some LSD. I remember Sam telling us one time he took, I don't know if it was 100 or 200 or however many hits he took back in the 60s and blacked out. There are ways to experience, to remove your consciousness from this 5 sense prison that it's currently locked into. You know, if you think of psychedelics as a prosthetic that can take that consciousness out of this 5 sense prison and move it beyond that into this, you know, more wider, I would say, view, but really the language isn't there because it's beyond our senses. But anyone that's experienced these substances in fairly large doses will be up and downing their head right now with a somewhat pale look on their face and a bit of fright in their soul, because yeah, the ego. My favorite Terence McKenna quote: "These compounds do not bathe the ego in a cloud of certitude." That's one of my favorites right there, from Psilocybin in the Sands of Time. If you guys want to check out a great talk, go YouTube Psilocybin in the Sands of Talk. That shit will blow the back of your head off. And it was like 1986 at the Esalen Institute when he did it. So it's worth checking out. What's going on, Dragonfly Earth Medicine? Smiley faces.
Hey, everybody. Happy New Year. Really nice to see everybody today. Alison, really beautiful to see you on today. Thank you so much for your work. Thanks to the Ames Institute. I have so much deep gratitude for the work that you all are doing. We're following it all the time. And yeah, so appreciative. And everybody else out there, so beautiful to see you. And
I think it's a beautiful representation of the fact that, you know, we can't necessarily always rely on our government or medical industry for things. And I'm really thankful that at least we do have an alternative community of people that are turned on and that will go the extra mile no matter what, because karmically in their hearts, they're right. And I'm thankful to this community of people on and people that are listening, because obviously there's amazing amounts of people listening too that are equally as powerful. So big love and respect to that community that keeps this world a better place and keeps it ticking.
And I just think that, you know, as the cannabis culture and having been a part of it for the past 30 years, pretty much, sounds incredible. Wow, time is totally rolling. That, you know, being a part of the traditional market made us not look towards, you know, the government, made us not look towards whatever, politics, lobbying, anything, because it just wasn't allowing us to be able to get the job done. And it seems like more and more people are coming on board, and
places
and
like
things are becoming legalized, you know, and decriminalized. And it's all because the medicine is really doing the work. Sure, there's people behind it, there's us cultivating it, there's people getting it out there totally illegally against all odds, but it's the medicine that changes the people. It's when people ingest it that they feel those transitional changes, even politicians now. So
we're becoming more intelligent because the food and the medicine that we're taking is of higher intelligence. So it brings our possibilities up, and that's what they don't want. They don't want that intelligence to thrive. And places like Ames is like a, you know, Ames Institute, I don't know if you've talked about it yet, but I mean, it's like a ground zero spot for, you know, normalization, and maybe you could tell us more about that.
And the bridge from the work that we've been doing in the black market and the traditional market, and now Ames is really taking it forward. Alison, I'd love to hear about what you've been up to and what you've been doing lately.
I mentioned earlier that we're currently, well, we do all kinds of psychedelics. Right now, Dr. Standish is working on using ayahuasca for cancer patients. She has also put forth her first documentation to get approval from the DEA to utilize ayahuasca. She is also working with the McKennas. She's a steward to their property in Hawaii. And so we will be using ayahuasca from that community. And as I mentioned earlier, we are currently working on a study for psilocybin end of life. We're trying to bypass a decrim and using the right to try rule, and getting attorneys involved to basically sue on behalf of several of our clients to be able to use psilocybin for end of life. We currently do in-office ketamine-assisted psychotherapy sessions. We do cannabis-assisted psychotherapy sessions. I can't tell you guys enough the power of the work. It's like cannabis was amazing, or is amazing, but when you take these people who are hurt and just have tried every medication, and then you give them some psychedelics and you see the change. And it's like Marcus is saying, that ego dissolution, your ego gets in the way of whether, you know, it's seeing love, or whether it's letting go of hurt or loss. And with the ego gone, it really allows someone to see another side of life. And I'm really lucky and so honored every time I sit with someone on a psychedelic session, or I support someone in either teaching them how to microdose or to do macro dosing. It's an honor and a privilege to me. It's kind of like helping, like you were saying, Marcus, take their soul to a cleaner, lighter a space where that the constructs of everyday life don't have to apply. And that's kind of what we're doing at Ames. I mean, every day is different. You know, we deal with with all different kinds of clients that are looking for support. Like I said, I do ketamine in the office, and then I support micro and macro dosing of other psychedelics that are not yet legal. And our goal is to be able to do psilocybin. We have gone through the MDMA training through MAPS, and now we're awaiting the DEA to approve our site. We've gotten all the requirements of the refrigerators and everything that MDMA is supposed to be kept in. But unfortunately, under Trump's presidency, a lot of those DEA approvals have kind of stalled. So we are hoping that with the new presidential administration that we will have more, our site will be approved for MDMA as well.
Awesome. That's amazing. That puts a big smile
fabulous.
on my face for sure.
And we work with we work with Salome. Salome has come down from the Canadian Psychedelic Association. Love her. She's awesome. She's come down, and we're kind of doing work hand in hand.
Awesome.
Yeah, we've been doing work with Salome as well. She's part of our community up here in British Columbia and Seattle and in the US and Hawaii and the ayahuasca vines of the Big Island. But yeah, we did a really amazing talk with Standish and Sunil. And it was really beautiful online. If anyone hasn't seen it, I'm not sure exactly where to find it right this second just to say it. But
yeah, it was an incredible panel with MAPS just on cannabis and cancer and other plant medicine and cancer. And it just blew my mind to sit with those folks and just have a discussion. So I feel like, wow, as much as 2020 has been just so incredibly, whatever it is, it's all of the words. I don't even want to say one word because it's all of the words. Still, the mushrooms are getting through, the mycelium is growing, the seeds are sprouting, the plant medicine is making its way into almost regular conversation at regular dinner tables in regular suburbia, like all over the world. And I just think that this is incredible, time for plant medicine, and totally we're getting such empowering messages, and it's really giving us a lot of the answers that we've been searching for, that, maybe science and this idealization of continually isolating things to give us the answers of the great magic of the unknown of why we're here and why we exist and where we're going to and where we came from. And it just seems like the plant medicine is doing much better than, past science.
It's definitely reaching the masses. I'm always surprised when I get like an 80-year-old grandma come in with like a Michael Pollan book all dog-eared, and she's like, help me do this. These little old ladies, more so than I ever saw in cannabis, because these are old ladies that are not necessarily sick, but they just want to know, like, they want to find peace in death. They want to find peace with their past. And it's, and they're really, some of them have never done psychedelics before, and they just want to like find out what is this magic that goes on with looking inside the mind. And it's really cool. It's really, really cool. And I definitely see psychedelics touching the masses a lot more since the acceptance of cannabis.
Yep, that's for sure. Go ahead, Etienne.
It's a great healing too, one that a lot of our veterans are finding exponentially. I've started a kind of a group with a loose affiliation with various veterans from all over the United States, and now we have ones from Canada who are joining us because we're finding not just cannabis is helpful, but especially working through our post-traumatic stress to arrive at our post-traumatic growth. One of the things we find is definitely psychedelics of various ones help kill that ego so that they can get past their trauma so that they can finally arrive at their healing. It definitely is a clear of the pathways and the blockages for many people. I can't say for all, but at the same time, these are things that we realize that cannabis has its place, but so does ibogaine, so does ayahuasca, so do all the other naturopathic plant medicines. So I want to give a shout out to my Veterans Action Council brothers and sisters there for our continued work, because that's one of the things we're working towards in the new year, is continuing opening up access, especially for veterans, because we're just a small encapsulation of society, but such a concentration of society, its reflection reflects back. So we just want to lend our hands and our ears and our minds as well.
I think one of the important things we're going to find in the next 10 years as well, as we do with everything, we scrub all the culture out of it, right? We do everything in a very sort of clean style room. And I think that the set and setting and the importance of learning that, and everyone learns that when they have their first, maybe took too much whatever at the wrong spot. It was kind of like, wow, that was certainly not the same as it usually is. And that was kind of a bad experience. Like, I guess taking acid and going to the bar and playing pool wasn't as good of an idea as we thought it was. And so you can see how the set and setting, and I wonder where that will take us, this set and setting, because will it be in a room with walls and ceilings, or will it be outside? Will it be more like, because we have these two things. We have these ayahuasca ceremonies that are happening in South America and in Central America, and they definitely happen in different types of huts. They have these traditional settings that have been in place for many, many, many decades. And then you have sort of the Western society's version, which we do with everything, even the way we grow cannabis. We've scrubbed the entire terroir right out of the entire cannabis growing experience, which could you imagine ever suggesting that to the wine folk? Like, hey, we should scrub the terroir out of grapes and grow them indoors with like lights and white poly walls. And like, what do you think of that idea? So I hope we don't scrub out that terroir culture from the psychedelic experience, if that makes sense.
One of the things that we are working towards right now in the Veterans Action Council is SOPs. We've started reaching out to shamans and others and realizing that there's a lot of unfortunate sexual abuse that can happen in these situations. MAPS has put out a situation. So we're actually working on a white paper, and Dr. Draisin, I would love to have your input and look over, because we're reaching out to the Native American shaman community, the traditional shaman community, as well as reaching out to MAPS, because we realize that a lot of people want to imbibe and want to go there, but at the same time, they don't know how to prep themselves, where they need to be, who needs to be there, because people think that a couple is there, but we got wind that a particular couple will abuse people while they're under these psychedelics. So we want to work on educating people so that they can have the experience that they desire and not the one that they get. So,
Etienne, I usually recommend people. So for what I do, there's some, you might hear some clinics that do just infusions, like whether it be ketamine or underground therapists that do their individual work. But for what we do at our clinic, it's absolutely imperative to develop a relationship over a period of time with the person that you're going to be going on this journey with. I work with highly traumatized individuals who've had years, firefighters, police officers, people who've been raped multiple times. And those type of individuals really require trust. And I know MAPS does the 2 people. In our office, it's just one therapist. But what we do is that we develop a therapeutic relationship over a period of time prior to giving that person psychedelics and sitting with them. And that seems for me to help a client develop that trust. But I'm absolutely open to reading your paper and giving some feedback, because I think that this is, in order for anyone to let go of their ego in an environment, they really need to trust the people that are going to be the holder of their bodies.
Agreed. I put my email in the chat there. So if you could reach out, I'd love to make contact for that. Because we just want to create a safety document so that when people have or want to experience this just becomes sort of a go-to document so that they can understand that this is the way that it should be done. So appreciate your input and thoughts.
And there's an energy behind the medicine that's being taken to, and the way that it's cultivated. And we've learned through cannabis about conscious cannabis cultivation and how its effects from regenerative cannabis into the body is more, it's easier to assimilate. And when with psychedelic mushrooms, I mean, they could be grown in a super chemically laden situation.
Which most
and really
often they
that's
are.
not positive for our body, nor is it positive for the people growing it.
Or
So,
the trip that we're going
you
to
know,
have.
the use of isopropyl in the production of psychedelic mushrooms is extremely harmful to our microbiome, and you wouldn't want the cultivators to get sick in the process of creating a cure. So there's conscious ways of creating psychedelics you can do, like Marcus has been showing wavy caps of cyanescence in the background. Those are woody mushrooms. People can create woody patches on their land and create a lot of medicine in those areas.
And we talk about the epigenetics of the trip. It's so important. Where are we? We doing journeys with people for
She's
because
can't hear her so well.
Is she breaking up for you guys as well?
Yeah,
ability for
And
people to be able to go and are in the correct area, in the correct environment. Sorry, maybe I'll come back to it.
Well, we lost
hear
you
me
just
now?
for we can hear you coming at the end now, but yeah, you were chipping out there, and I really wanted to hear that.
I was going to add to what you were saying is that I've never in my life heard of so many people growing mushrooms. These little old ladies coming in to visit me at the office, they're growing mushrooms. Every Tom, Dick, and Harry is growing mushrooms at this point. I live in the Pacific Northwest, so it's very easy. Or creating new strains. This was what I was going to touch on, is that what's seeming to happen now is that people are putting 2 different types of mushrooms in a tub, and then how would you describe it, is that then they just choose the spores of the big fatty ones, and then they continue to propagate the big fatty ones. But that doesn't necessarily mean that the traits of that particular mushroom are the best just because it looks big. It's okay.
I know. It's this constant need for bigger, better quads.
Bigger,
so you're going to look for quads in mushrooms.
Quad ends.
Size doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. But
star mushrooms.
Listen, I will even add, it's more important than that, because anyone that's ever grown mushrooms knows that when you take a trip of the little aborts, the little mushrooms that don't make it, the caps that don't open up, they're tiny little babies. Well, listen,
the primordial heads.
Listen, those things, I swear to God, I don't know if this is a fact, but this is what it seems like when you eat them. It seems as though they've produced all of their psilocybin and psilocin when they're this big, and then you eat a gram of those, and it's literally like eating 5 grams of like big, huge, giant, 3-foot mushrooms or whatever.
Because
especially if they're fresh.
The stem bud is the most active.
Yes, my partner is agreeing with what you're saying.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
My psychedelic journeys have agreed with what I'm saying.
We're in the Pacific Northwest. There's a lot of foraging that goes on here, In addition to the science, we also have spring and fall ovioids, which is another type of psychedelic mushroom. And then, of course, on the coast, we have the azarescens. So we're in like the mecca here in the Pacific Northwest for mushrooms. And so
Seattle has gone on the attack to kill the mushrooms because they used to have wood chips all over the city, and psychedelic mushrooms grew all over the city.
That's West Vancouver.
They still do. I got over a pound this year.
They still
all of West Vancouver.
Certain cities are adding fungicides to their wood chips, so that they do not grow the mushroom. But that's mostly up in Bellingham. We're hearing Bellingham fungicide in the mushroom in the chips. But here in Seattle, the fungicide hasn't really taken over.
It's still really good.
My partner is a master forager, and so he spends his fall and spring out in the wood chips.
Well, he's invited up to Vancouver to come spend it with us this next fall because we're doing the very same thing. We're pulling morels, we're pulling yellowfoots, which you see behind me, all varieties of gold, chanterelles, lobster mushrooms, cauliflower mushrooms, bolites, a whole variety of wonderful edible mushrooms. I ate my fair share of edible mushrooms this fall. It was insane. We would just go every single weekend. Shout out to Sean Michaels, the very same Sean Michaels that did the pointillism work on my Bubble Man guy that sits on the trichomes. He's been foraging also for the last 20 years here, fungi and plant medicines. So it's a huge bonus, but you guys should come up and we should share some picking stories and some experiences.
Someone needs to come to Illinois and help us. We have tons of mushrooms here. I mean, Illinois has
and
like
medicinal polypores on your trees in Illinois.
Oh my gosh. And we have we have 70 acres of just woods that my family owns. And, you know, we mushroom hunt, but mushroom hunting morels, which go for like $500 a pound around here because everyone loves them so much. But we look at all these other little mushrooms that are around and we're like, which ones can we eat? Which ones can we not? It's incredible. And we live, the area that we live in is where the three rivers come together. So it's really moist here and there's a lot of humidity. So someone needs to come and show this area.
Get yourself some spores and spore some of your hardwood bark.
What about a special show on mushrooms, both edible and psychedelic, where we gather some of the great minds and we educate ourselves like that?
Yeah, and that would be awesome. I mean, I don't know how many times that I've gotten on to Hash Church and I've been like, I don't know enough about cannabis and you guys all blow my mind. Simplify it for us. You know, we're just now getting into this. We need to know which mushrooms are good, which mushrooms are bad, where to find them, you know, and just simplify it just for the layman so we can get it more.
Good if you're a human, bad if you're a bug. Anyone?
Okay.
And not found in Illinois either.
And I was wanting to say that, you know, the incredible positive reactions that we've gotten from compounding cannabis with medicinal mushrooms. So adding that in there, the incredible importance of these adaptogens going together and creating medicine together. Yep, there's some mycocanna caps. That was really fun. You know, we've been making
turkey tail, lion's mane, all of those. My partner just said that it's actually illegal to possess.
No, it's legal.
It's legal. It is legal to possess spores in Illinois.
Oh,
that's
so you can
more
get spores.
powerful than the fruiting body, so that's a good thing to know.
Mm-hmm.
Very powerful.
Is it true that spores are legal in all 50 states to hold?
No, they're illegal in California.
No. They're illegal in California.
Is it true that spores are the only other living creature to leave Earth aside from humans and float in space trapped in cosmic radiation pressure? Just putting it out there.
Water bears as well.
Oh, water. Oh, right. What are they called again? Trug. They have a weird name. They just took those things to the moon recently. The strongest living organism. Those weird little creatures that have the snout mouths. They're like microscopic. Tragla. No, nobody.
Brackens.
Tardigrade.
That when we were younger.
Which one? Yes, exactly. Etienne, you called it.
Tardigrade.
Yeah, tardigrade.
So it's a small group. It's a small group.
Six-legged creatures that can survive in space. But yeah, it'd be great to know about if actually spores do actually travel through space, because you know how long they've been traveling.
Yeah, and where did they come from?
We need all these questions answered.
And also, can you imagine space?
It's also
mushrooms?
nice to
Sign
have
me
the
up.
unknown.
I want some space mushrooms as well. For all we know, we have them already.
We are space mushrooms. Let's be real. Like we're pretending right now that we're not from space. Etienne, have you ever tried the Cyano-Franciscans, the psychedelic mushrooms that are found in Oakland? I'm pretty sure it's like in a Jack in the Box parking lot or something like that. Like they're a newer variety of psychedelics that's been discovered in the last maybe 10 years now. And I'm sure, and there wasn't a clinical name for them because they were new, but we've, taken them and we had some chance to try and grow them, but it wasn't success. Have you heard do you know about the Oakland psychedelics?
I have heard of it. I have not tried it. And if anybody who sees me, who knows me and wants to, and has access to, I would love to try them.
And I'm pretty sure if someone's watching the chat, from what I've been told on the street, it's called the Cyano Franciscans, but it probably should be called the Cyano.
They're mushrooms that you don't try. They actually try. They try you.
That's the way it usually goes, for sure.
I mean, and with psychedelics, there's manure loving cubensis, and a lot of them are manure loving, and those are a lot of the ones that are grown indoors, or you can cultivate them in greenhouses.
Yeah, the syzygy. The syzygy produced in.
How would you rate the high of that mushroom? Was it a solid ego kill?
Which mushroom?
The Oakland
Franciscan.
Franciscan.
It was very visually pleasing, and had a super silly note to it. It was kind of like a little bit reminiscent to the cyanescence, to the
very sparkly,
to the potent psilocybin.
More sparkly than I'd had mushrooms in a long time. Lots of like really activated colors and sparkles.
Have you guys tried baeocystins? Because those often produce the visuals with baeocystin and norbaeocystin. Those are bluebells and grow also in and around like Maple Ridge and stuff in British Columbia.
Yeah, I've tried those before. They were really nice.
One of the good ones we had recently was the albino penis envy. The ape. I mean, those are amazing.
Really incredible.
I mean, wow.
Medicinal.
They look insane, and the trip was so much fun. You just eat on them like,
I feel like I should be welcoming both Skunk Man Sam and BestFriend Farms into the room. I feel like I kind of shit the bed on welcoming those two guys to the room, and I apologize. I got sucked into the mushroom talk.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. You're like the guy on the cell phone commercial. Can you hear me now?
He patented all the mushrooms.
I just wanted to say one thing, and that is, we've been through a lot of this before, the psychedelic revolution in the 60s. And I think our big mistake then was, okay, we took psychedelics, we did kill our ego, that served a purpose to let us understand ourselves better. But the trouble was, back then, Larry used to preach, turn on, tune in, and drop out. We don't want to drop out. We want to turn on, tune in, and take over. Really, that's the goal, is to take over. Because if we don't, we have the morons in fucking power. And we're stupid enough. We don't need even stupider people telling us what to do.
Ain't that
so?
The truth?
I just want to tell you, go ahead, kill your ego, turn on, tune in, but take over.
And overgrow. Don't forget to spread the overgrow.
Myceliate the system.
Yeah, let the mushrooms and the plant medicine take over, and we just steward it into the system.
Mycelium. We like to spread mycelium everywhere.
Well said.
Hey, I want to throw in a thought here. I love the conversation about killing the ego. And yes, that was my experience with psychedelics earlier in my life. But I came to realize that actually it's not so much about killing the ego, it's about coming to understand that the ego doesn't have to be in charge. Ego does serve a function in certain ways. But to me, psychedelics took the illusion away that all of this physical plane reality is what's really important. And it's been years since I've used any psychedelics. I get really high on love these days. Love of my life, love of nature. I'm fortunate enough to shelter in place on a farm where I can walk the land and really drink deeply of how beautiful it is when it rains finally in California. And I get really high that way because psychedelics early in my life helped me recognize that all of the stress and the fear and the anger that I could find in my life was an illusion. And it was based on attachment, as Marcus alluded to earlier. So I really want to encourage people to, yes, use psychedelics to help you see the illusion that seems so real that we call life. Because yes, life is suffering, and but what's true is within each of us, there's this place that psychedelics helps you experience where you can carry it forward in your life day to day, moment to moment, without the need to constantly microdose or to macrodose. And I highly encourage anyone that hasn't tried the psychedelic experience to do so, but also to recognize that it's helping you see truth as versus is truth itself. Sorry for the rant. I just had to pitch that in there.
I appreciate everything you just said, Wade, and I also appreciate the tone in which you said it. It was very calming and just enjoyable. So I appreciate you sharing.
Blessings. Thank you.
So I have to throw something out there that I've been holding on to for a little while now. I want to talk about Horatio a little bit today, Marcus. I got a piece of jewelry that he and his wife created before he died. And I just want to make sure we talk a little bit about Horatio today.
Absolutely. Let's, yeah, we had a whole show for Horatio. Rest in peace. I've heard a few of them today as well. He was definitely a brilliant mind and really an incredible energy that is definitely missed here in our community.
He's surrounded in this building. He is all over here. I have a lot of Horatio memory, and Alison, I have something here for you. And I have these special little aluminum balls that are steel balls of Horatio. This was part of his leaving extraction. So certain people in this group, if you please send me an email, I will ship you one of these. Alison, you're one of them. I was paying Etienne, anybody here who was involved with Horatio and was part of that family. I saved these, and I've talked with Marnie quite a bit. I just talked to her on New Year's Day. And these are in memory of a great mind and a great soul and a great person. So I don't even think I've had a chance to give you one, Mark. I haven't been out because of COVID, and I've been staying home, but I can put these in the mail to the people that are abroad. I'll ship them to Amsterdam, Europe, Spain, wherever. I don't really care. It's not about anything. It's about having that memory of someone who was so great. So there's people in, we've talked about it. So please reach out to me. If you don't have my email, it's quite easy. You can just send it to medchainercanada@gmail.com to certain people out there. But please contact me, and I'll send you a little piece of someone who is great. This is a big part of what he did, and it's pretty they smell like lean mean too, so it's kind of cool.
I found some of my old limonene hash oil that I had been hoarding and of course it doesn't look the same, but it still was like, just to smell it, you could still smell like very light traces of limonene. But he was an interesting fellow, and he really was a historical piece of the cannabis movement, a quiet one. Other than on Hash Church, he was really quiet and kind of kept himself, and lived in his little house in the woods with his family. And I also too have been in touch with Marnie. I got a few pieces of his jewelry and some stickers and stuff that was from some of his containers, and it just broke my heart that he left us way too soon.
I sit here and look at the trichome under the microscope and just go down the research path of what we all do and what he did and how we all inspired one another here. That was a big part of all of us in Hash Church, is the inspiration we all gave one another. And Horatio is one of those ones that inspired us to move forward. Like, we all kind of do here every day. It's pretty awesome to take a look at the journey that has happened with Hash Church, and the surrounding people in the community have just keep pushing forward to just see this plant grow and grow, and it's awesome. I love being a part of it.
Yeah, so thanks. I just wanted to bring him up a little because was a special part of Hash Church.
Oh yeah, he was definitely a fan favorite. Lots of people always loved listening to what Horatio had to share. And a thinker, innovator, definitely was playing around where, we've got people going off about tech in the chat right now, upset that certain texts haven't been shared. But Horatio's texts, were unable to be shared because of the danger they posed to people playing around with them. And he didn't want to be giving tech to people and then having them hurt themselves. And so, you can see that it's not just black and white. People want tech, and so they feel that complaining about it is how they can get it. But it doesn't always work out that way. So, I remember talking to him about, when I went and filmed Horatio's Inner Sanctum and how controlling he was in that aspect. And he really wanted to make sure that I didn't share anything that, maybe people would get a hold of and hurt themselves doing. So, that was some chemistry that he was playing around with there. And I kind of respected it that he wanted to do it that way. I personally was very honored to be able to go into his lab, because I know very, very few people ever got invited in there, and to be able to film as well with him puts that out there. That I'll never take that video down. That'll be available to people to go in and to watch and check out and visit with Horatio, so to speak. It's R.I.P.
That
Horatio.
convention that we went to, Marcus, what was it called? Cannabis Economy, and it was up in Vancouver, and you and Horatio introduced the terp champagne.
Yeah, that was awesome.
That was so awesome. Amazing. I mean, there were people who were in that setting that had no idea about terpenes, and you guys just flipped
champagne
to all of those folks.
Yeah.
Hey, a dab
from Horatio.
Let's do it.
Dab for Horatio.
I pulled out some 90 you here, man.
I'll never
open dab.
Take a dab.
All right, everyone in chat, whatever it is you're doing, pick up your pipes, your joints. We're having a dab.
Colton's gonna go get his vape because he doesn't dab. But just to remind everyone, his GoFundMe is still up, and you can donate to Horatio's GoFundMe still. So everyone out there who has been touched by Horatio, please go to his GoFundMe and give a few dollars.
I purchased, she did an auction. And so some of the jewelry that they make, I purchased some jewelry as a way of supporting the family. And so she still has those pieces. Not all of them went for auction. And
the story behind that and the jewelry that was made was pretty cool, because it was a new form of attack that he had actually came up with by fusing two compounds together to make the jewelry that no one had done before. So it's a completely new, as you know how Horatio was. He came up with something so amazingly and innovative. He was able to fuse these together. I saw the material. I saw what was going on with it. I seen the molds and everything. This jewelry is something special, and it's be great for the family to move on, because she'll be something that Marty will be working on, and his daughter maybe in the future, but it's something to fuel that family and keep that vision going. And that kind of it's pretty cool jewelry, guys. Yeah, definitely check it out. Just go to his Instagram page and you'll see some of it and stuff. Yeah, it's really cool stuff.
Long rip.
DK. Where's the DK?
Let's do it. Let's do it. I got 600, just under 600 Fahrenheit. I'm ready for a dabby. Bless you. Bless you. My goodness.
No, I'm coughing.
Well, bless your coughing.
I'm smoking a
trunk. I'm dabbing. Got some Johnny B action going on there. It's pretty impressive. I like it.
I took some caps this morning the 240s, and I took 2 of them. So about 15 minutes into hash church, I was getting a little jittery, and I was getting a little anxiety out. And I sat down and started smoking a little bit of hash. Went for a walk, came back, and had to relax a little bit. So it's kind of like I think I went to my peak limit this morning.
I ate some Myco caps from Dragonfly Earth Medicine, and I'm also rocking some Host Defense, some lion's mane. Great for memory and nerve support. Those are my daily medicines right there. Boom shankara.
That's some mushroom.
Yeah, I've been going hard. Been going hard on the mushrooms lately. Probably taking up to 3 heaping tablespoons of lion's mane, 3 heaping tablespoons of turkey tail, and just started a 12-day water cleanse. And I'm just going to go hard with the mushrooms and the miso and just do water, mushrooms, and miso for 12 days and try to get reset. I feel like coming into my 50th year, I felt like it was really important to, well, having passed my 50th year, felt like it was probably a good thing to do some cleansing. And sometimes when it's quiet, it's a good time to go within and realize that food and drinking and external and all these things that we take into our lives really take up a lot of time and energy. And when we sort of pull back from that and do things that, you know, are good for our body, I think that we learn more about ourselves and we learn more about what's going on, you know, in the world today. So coming into 2021, I feel like, you know, and probably end it with a really beautiful, intentional journey, some type of plant medicine journey. So loving those mushrooms also. Thanks, Marcus. I've been taking so much oil. It's been awesome. It's just so healing on so many levels to mix the medicinal mushrooms with the cannabis. I feel like they were made for each other.
And a lot of those mushrooms in there are foraged from our forest, and we live on the edge of a wilderness. So it's like eating longevity enzymes, you know, with
longevity. Ooh.
Longevity enzymes.
Longevity.
You know, the polypores, like who gets artist conchs and amadou and fomatopes and the red belted conch and slices. We slice them up and make oil out of them. I mean, the oil of the mushrooms itself is just
stuff. Yeah,
there
just
you go.
that. There it is. Red belted polypore. Slice it up and just stuff the pots. And
I'll pull a polypore off like that, slice it with a knife to a little thing and chew on it while I'm.
And then if you put the slices together overnight in a basket, they will myceliate on top of each other. They just continue to grow. It's insane. So if you took that and you sliced it, it's like you could make 1,000 of them from that. They just want to continue to grow, and they seem to be everywhere.
And it's good to have some of the bark still on the mushroom because the bark is healing as well. And the cambium layer, I mean, the mushroom is a fruit of the cambium layer of the tree. Yeah, that mycelium is where it's attached to the lifeblood of the tree.
So all the intelligence of the tree and all of the history of the tree and all of everything that the tree has uptaken is in that polypore that Marcus is holding, that then we can absorb, because we can't absorb the tree, but we can absorb the mushroom.
Because
so it's a bridger.
And that dried mushroom that Marcus had is still has a lot of the medicine in it. So it does store in there dry, but it's really hard. It's nearly impossible to cut. You could probably burn that, Marcus. I mean, I don't know whether you want to burn that one or not, but those mushrooms when dried also burn. So like this is, and also the smelling, the smoke from a polypore like chaga and amadou, the tinder conch, smelling the smoke is healing to the body. And a lot of native peoples used that as an incense in their smoke. And also you can smoke this polypore if you take a little slice of it and put it in a Vitamix and kind of make it it goes furry when you try and blend it. It doesn't like chip up. You can mix it with cannabis and smoke it in a doobie. And it's really good for you.
It's a fantastic, fungicide. It's really helpful for damp lung issues, people with consumption, and a lot of the native people had it, like Josh was saying, in their medicine bag because it helps rid pathogenic fungi. So we always burn it through our greenhouses. We burn them in our basements. We really, take advantage of this cleansing. Here's another really awesome example, same thing that Marcus was showing.
And this is off of birch, and the red-belted conch is the Fomitopsis pinicola, which is generally off a pine tree, but this is from a birch tree. So this would have different compounds because the birch has betulinic acid in it. So we really are stoked when we find mushrooms off a birch tree. It's our goal we eat the birch. We eat the bark of the birch. We drink the birch bark because you can't eat it. I mean, you can do a lot of things, but anyway.
This is on birch, this chaga. Beautiful. Today really became a mushroom church. I'm going to have to do like I'm going to have to start a mushroom show where we share mushroom information and do, maybe not every week by any means, but be good to do a mushroom. Maybe I could ask all of you to help collect some names and contact information for the people that should be invited to such a discussion. Yeah, I think that between the people just on the panel here right now, we could probably put together 50 to 100 names pretty easily.
And we could encourage the growing of mushrooms together with cannabis, especially for the backyard and home grower, because a lot of medicinal mushrooms like maitake, lion's mane, reishi. Those three are just ones that come off the head. They grow off wood. So you can, if people are clearing their forest, blah, blah, their fire, whatever, you can plug trees and put them in the dirt underneath your cannabis. So the trees will fruit these medicinal mushrooms underneath your cannabis, and they'll breathe together, right? Because the mushrooms are breathing in oxygen and exhaling carbon dioxide with the plant, which is taking it in. It's a beautiful cyclical. And then if you plant your mushrooms with mycorrhizal fungi, then you just have this completely living, unbelievable medicine that it'll transform your life. That this is what we should do, is try and challenge each other, and it wouldn't fruit maybe this year. So that's a real thing, when you plug a tree,
and why not?
It may or may not fruit, but it might fruit in the fall if we do it proper in the spring, and we've done that before.
And why not take on a higher intelligence? Like, I think that what we continue to do is this circle game, almost like a gerbil inside of a cage, that we continue to look towards government and individuals and humans for better information. Like, humans evolve together. We are all on this incredible collective consciousness. We need to look towards other beings, such as plant medicines, for us to evolve to that next level. We can't be looking towards other humans. We need to be, evolving with the medicines that are here for us. And I just love it that, the mycelium continues to pop up in all little cities all over the place and become decriminalized, and she's making her way. The cannabis sort of opened the door for all the rest of the plant medicines to walk through it.
And some cannabis farms are transforming just to psilocybin production.
This is true.
In Oregon, I know this. And also you can grow mushrooms outdoors in a greenhouse right next to a cannabis greenhouse, and you can exchange the air between the two greenhouses, and then you would have, and science, maybe someone is going to try and tell you it's bad, but it's good because spores will go on to the trichomes. Someone will prove that this is good, and those spores be on the trichomes as we consume them. And so it'll be third instead of secondary metabolites. It'll be like what's the third metabolite?
Tertiary.
Yeah, that tertiary metabolites. Just
and then it will go into quads, which goes back to what we were originally talking about.
Which is really the goal, you know, which is.
Well, the conversation, take one.
There's also the aspect, I have actually, people send me stuff all the time, like samples and stuff of things that they do. And some of the most interesting samples I have are people who are microdosing decarboxylated cannabis and mushrooms and caps for like a daily, you know, booster.
Yeah, that's what we do, Allison. So we've been compounding mushrooms and cannabis oils, both THC, CBD, CBG, you know, doing isolates, full spectrum, all of it. And, you know, for a very long time, you know, realized that, you know, the isolates were not helping. We already knew that as far as the studies go, but you put it onto patients, no, full spectrum, full soak oil. We do a coconut olive oil and like 17 different mushrooms. And it seems to just help people with everything. Why not throw it out there? We always give people the recipes. We tell people, do it yourself. Here's these amazing plants that are showing themselves, and we're becoming more educated from them. So let's make them in our own kitchens. Let's heal each other.
It's so possible.
Yeah. I love it that you've got somebody who's doing that as well. The more people who are compounding these incredible, intelligent plants together and mushrooms are just going to be helping us all out. It just helps raise us all up.
It's pretty cool. Pretty cool.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are starting to take, you know, into account the power of what, you know, specific terpenes can do, and specific varietal terpene, you know, that you can really blend two different types of experiences that are quite complementary to one another and quite really beneficial to your everyday, you know, and it's really it's interesting because we really are starting to touch on a very large palette, and it starts to get into this idea of biohacking and better understanding what you can do for yourself and being more self-sufficient and better understanding your own body, and then the energy that you can connect to by understanding these compounds together. And that's something that it's really beautiful to see, you know, everyone around us kind of learning and wanting to learn. And as you kind of illustrated before, Kelly, it's you know, we have abundance around us.
Small, fine. Yeah, they're small, right?
It's really important that you know, we connect with these medicines in a really responsible and really you know, a way that allows us to really get in touch with what's around us.
Come on, you researchers on these terp frontiers, we need you.
Yeah, I mean, I think in terms of terpenes, there's a lot of work that's being done. I know, you know, there's quite a few people that are on the verge of releasing a lot of different products that incorporate. I know Terrence McKennan's been working on some stuff that incorporates terpenes. I think a lot of people are really working on this. You know, it's just a matter of time right now and better understanding how we can scale a lot of this stuff so it's available for everyone. Cultivar specific terpenes are very hard to scale. It's you know, the process in which you need to go through to isolate them, you know, your returns are just not there yet. However, you know, there are the ways we can achieve what we're trying to do.
And the terpenes that are involved in mushrooms, you know, the triterpenes and the terpenes
and
are
the
just
sesquiterpenes.
And the sesquiterpenes. I always love to say, just for fun, because I came to this on a journey, is you know, if you take all the crayons and you melt them all together, they're always brown. I always feel like
oh no.
Broke up.
Mushrooms.
Breaking up.
Really think about that. Oh.
No.
Darn.
We're
Sorry.
it's okay.
You
Am I
just
back?
said all the crayons, yes, all the crayons together made brown. And then
Yeah,
you
so when you take all the crayons, you melt them, they make brown. And then if you take all the terpenes in the world and you melt them all together, it smells like mushrooms. So I feel like there's really some awesome horizons to expand on in terpene production in mushrooms.
I just sent Marcus a article called Traversing the Fungal Terpenome.
I got it.
The terpenome.
The terpenome. One of them there government sites. The fungal terpenome. I want to traverse the fungal terpenome. In fact, that is 100% the name of the show, by the way. Traversing the fungal terpenome. You just named the show. Okay, so that's the name of it. That's not even a joke. That's happening for sure. Wow. I just can't believe how great that is.
It rolls off the tongue so eloquently.
Fuck. I love you guys. Great. We got a lot of people in the chat room listening and chatting away. I don't know how many of you guys are visiting the chat room, but there's a solid 400 plus people in there chatting away. Got a couple of good conversations going on. It's a lot of the old hardcores. A lot of the OGs. Go ahead.
When we ally with fungi, we're creating a bridge. We're helping our own fungi and bacterial microbiome have communication back to our very DNA, how we are able to uptake these things. Like, I love the quote that we're 99.9% identical as far as our DNA and 99.9% different as far as our microbiome. And I was reading last night that we have 380 trillion
viruses or pathogens living in our body at all times. It's called the virome. Just look up virome online on the and you'll find out. Go ahead.
Yeah, so the more that we can ally with these incredibly intelligent, beneficial microbiology, spores, fungi, it's going to help us rise up and help create a higher consciousness, like I was saying before, because they're so easily available for us to uptake. They're just right there. And they communicate with our interior microbiome so easily.
And our brain, they say, trust your gut, because your gut maybe is more like your brain than your brain, because there's so many more organisms and microorganisms and thinking and with your receptors and your neurology. So your microbiome and your nutrition and your connection to soil is equally as important as microdosing and as taking cannabis to treat your ailments. So without the full picture of nutrition and earth connection and Schumann's resonance, and without these things that connect us to the longevity of the earth is always going to be here. We, and our smartness, we may go away very easy.
We always say we're trying to save the earth. It's so funny. Like, we're trying to save ourselves, people.
The earth is trying to save us, and we really need to listen, because the earth has the answers.
We're the only ones
And detour really quickly that we're talking about our own microbiome. We also need to talk about these cultivated plant medicines microbiome, the endophytic system within the cannabis, also the endophytic system within the mushrooms, the endophytic system within all of the vines that we're taking and making medicine out of. We need these medicines to be incredibly intelligent so we can gather that information. People have bad trips on mushrooms, not just because they are thought it was a good idea to go to the movies, or had a bad epigenetic situation, but also they took bad mushrooms, the same as cannabis.
Or
We all
LSD.
know what it's like to take a really big hit of some chemi weed. It just spins you. It's horrible. So it's not just any mushroom is good for you, or any is good for you. We need to really
Know
lift
your
up
source
those
and
plant
know
medicines.
your farmer. Ask your farmer to rise above and create intelligent medicine.
Rhizome above.
Yeah. Rise up, H-I-Z. Rise up.
Because why not?
Yeah.
Actually,
So go ahead.
Into my regimen, actually, it makes perfect sense. The conversation for even into the organic indoor. I was taught how to make mycelium flats out west from Soilscape Solutions friends. And I've been using that for, Sam and Natalie. And I've been using that method for probably 7+ years in a row. And I get great fungal flat results on a pretty good rhythm. And it really, without being scientific about it, it opens up my terpenes and my oils. I get great fraction on the test back we've done. And it seems like even back from the extractor friends, like Ancient Green, for instance, those friends, that we're seeing better high quality results out of it, and full terpene profile, and just amazing results from the mushrooms into the soil life for regenerative. So on rinse, on repeat for us.
That's what's up. That is what's up. Got to shout out my 6-year-old who I'm taking care of today as my wife is off having a little rest and relaxation. He's been incredible and has not bothered me a single time. Just taking care of himself. Shout out
I have
to
the
him.
new COVID mask for 2021 for all you smokers. So you actually got a hole here so you can smoke your joint. And when you're finished, I have these custom made. And there you go. This is the COVID mask for 2021. This is actually girlfriend's mother who came up with the idea. And got to be safe out there for 2021, right? You guys to be able to puff, so this way you don't have to take off your mask. You can go fatty.
Or just go to a restaurant. Just go to a restaurant, because it doesn't matter how many people are in the restaurant. You're just allowed to take your mask off when you go in there.
There you go. But it was just the I had 42 delivered to the door, so some people are getting these in the mail as be your 2021 present.
Nice. Yes, that is hilarious.
Like that.
DK Trades says that's hilarious, John.
You make them in big mouths for people like me.
Well, actually, the prototypes we can only put pinners in there. I'm like, I need to be able to put a joint in there. So I should what I said, a big pen. Just give me like enough so I can put like a big pen in there. And she laughed, but that's the size that you need so you can smoke a fatty, right?
Oh my
That looks
God.
like a Sharpie.
Yeah, that's what worked. Because
That's
my
awesome.
first ones I had stains in the front because I was smoking with it, so she was laughing. So she came up with the idea of making us, and there's different prototypes, but be inventive for 2021, whatever you're gonna do, and spread the word about cannabis. And I have a full bandana that I can go into the bank with that has the whole thing.
All right, I have to ask, Sam, why is your guy backwards? Is he okay? Is Cat in the Hat okay?
Now he's gone.
Oh shit! Now I've done it.
Now you've done it, Etienne. No more. Oh, he's got his mask on.
He's got his mask on.
Oh,
He doesn't want to get a computer virus.
Oh, remember, boys and girls, it's not a dad joke until it's full grown.
So what's going on in Amsterdam there, Sam? Is COVID ripping through your friends and family, or is it really not that you don't see it too much?
I saw it around, and but I think Amsterdam itself must be getting worse because all the restaurants are closed, all the schools are closed.
Oh.
So yeah, it's not doing so great. I have a question about full spectrum. It's always like the holy grail is full spectrum. But I mean, I always thought that for smoking anyway, what you want is THC. You don't really want the other cannabinoids. You may want particular terpenes that you enjoy, whether it's myrcene for punch or limonene for up, but uh, I, I, I always hear about full spectrum, like it's the holy grail, but it's, I just don't see it for recreational use. I really don't see it. But
Well, because
even
your
for
holy
medical-
grail is THC with lots of terps. So the thing
Yeah.
about cannabis is that everyone has a different holy grail. And I also will say that when I heard that, I also
it.
thought, I always think this when I hear people say, oh, you know, isolates are no good. I think, okay, just a second, time out. What about, you know, someone like Haley Rose, who has this, you know, neurological disorder, super sensitive. They created the Haley's Comet for her, high CBD, had certain ratios. I'm sure John could go on for hours about it because he has a close relationship with them. But what happened was it worked, it worked, it worked. It didn't work. It didn't work anymore. Like whatever happened, something happened in the terroir, something happened in the grow, something happened in the genetics where things just changed a little bit, produced different things, and now all of a sudden it wasn't working anymore. So I always thought that a value would be like, listen, obviously we want to take the whole plant apart so we can actually decipher through our own bioassays what it is that's happening. Is this, you know, this full spectrum versus microns of hash versus certain ones put together with other terpenes from different, just let's do it all. Let's dive into this as deep as we possibly can and uncover all these complexities so that we can, which we always all at least claim, that the patients are the most important. We can send that data over to patients and be like, look, if you're someone like Haley and you require a company to monomolecularize and isolate every compound so they can build it back to something that they are copying from a full spectrum state of perspective, like of a plant, they've done the full lab test. Now they're going to take all their monomoleculars and terpene fractions and they're going to put that back together the best that they can to the point where it never changes, so that someone with a neurological disorder, or maybe even someone like Colton who has super sensitivities in the intestinal region, any little amount of anything that's off, he's going to feel that like strong. So there's the value of monomolecular. There's also the value that we can take it all apart, do it. I mean, the first time Sam put a bowl of pure THC in my bowl, sure, I thought it was neat. I smoked it, but then, you know, I was all ready to be excited about it. And he was like, well, how was it? How was it? How was it? Right? Just right in your face, super excited. Like, well, I guess in a sense, it was a little one-dimensional. And then hitting it with that one single terpene that wasn't even cannabis derived, just to experience that sort of, whoa, this is different. To me, it's all valuable. We should never get caught up in our divisions. Of course, the Holy Grail is everything. It's all, whatever perspective you're going down, that can be your Holy Grail, and I'll facilitate you getting as far down that road as possible. But let's not shit on all the other roads because there's so many of them. So Sam, we know what your road is. We appreciate your road. Many of us have traveled your road thanks to you pioneering and breaking ground and putting that road in for many of us. So huge thanks for that. But also thanks to people like Colton who are discovering new roads for different people in different times, in different experiences. So that's how
And
we have discovered that
roads is definitely the best analogy to go there, because we always say that, you know, a person's endocannabinoid system is like a road, and every road has potholes in it. So you have to figure out, you know, what you need to fill those potholes, make sure that you don't, you know, if you add too much, then the road gets bumpy, you don't get enough, you don't fill those potholes. But we discovered that, you know, there are cannabinoids that I can't have. So there's this cannabinoid called THCV, which is an appetite suppressant. So first off, whoever thought of weed that didn't give you the munchies? That you know, when we first figured that out, that blew my mind. But it's an appetite suppressant. So for people with diabetes who just want to lose weight, and I also hear that it's working really well for people with post-traumatic stress disorder. they're using it with great success, but it's an appetite suppressant. So someone like me who has a wasting syndrome, I can't have THCV. So there are, cannabinoids that people, should be looking at and analyzing and deciding, is this what's best for me? Because there are, some cannabinoids that people either can't handle or can't have. And we need to know that information as patients, because if we're taking this as a medicine, we need to know what everything that we're putting into our bodies is doing to our bodies. We need that information. We need to know that.
I absolutely agree with you. And I want to empower you to the most degree to get the combination or terpene or cannabinoid that benefits you, and none of the ones that don't.
Exactly.
Right. And I think that's what our trial and error has been through this whole journey, is that, we were the full spectrum family. We got into cannabis and everybody would say full spectrum, full spectrum, full spectrum. And we love that. CBG has done a lot of good for a lot of people in CBN, and we understand that situation, but we also understand it as a medicine too. And that specific combinations or specific terpenes or specific cannabinoids do set harm to other people. And we discovered that on accident by Colton's medicine, and getting a strain for him that had a lot of THCV in it, which cannabis doesn't have a lot of THCV in it, but this was one strain, and I can't remember what it was.
South African.
It might have been. I have no idea. I mean,
California
what happened is,
orange.
it may have been. We just know that what the difference in the medicine that he was taking was THCV, and that was it. And we noticed that when we gave him vapes that had THCV in it, that he would start losing weight, and he lost it rapidly. And that was one of the scariest things for me, is because trying to get him to 100 pounds is difficult. Trying to maintain that is even worse.
Well, it was difficult. Now I'm 115.
Yeah. Because we figured that kind of stuff out. And we've tried to avoid THCV at all costs, because for him, it doesn't work. Now, like he said, for people with diabetes, it's excellent. I would love for somebody to just make a pill that was THCV for weight loss. I mean, whoever does that is going to be a billionaire.
They're working on it.
Good. Send me some. But I think Frankensteining it, sometimes we have to understand that it's okay to do, because we have certain patients that need certain things. And then we also want to have other cannabinoids involved and terpenes involved, and flavonoids. We want everything, but we want specific too. So I think that there is a place for everyone.
And if you're taking the flavonoids, if you're taking the flavonoids,
I just wanted to
orally,
say,
you'll get benefit. If you're smoking the flavonoids, you're deactivating them. A short note, that's all. Excuse me.
Mm-hmm. I just wanted to say that I think all of these points are really important. And what's happening is we're missing an incredible bridge. And that's allowing the plant and the cultivator to have those conversations for the greater people. I feel like when science continues to, and this is just like a side of it, we have all different things, and I respect everybody in the conversation for sure, but I got to stick up for the plant here in that she has these capabilities. When we talk about full spectrum, we're talking about that full plant, what that full plant has to offer. and we've learned, and you all have learned, that THCV is not good for Colton. Well, that's really easy to get a varietal that doesn't have THCV. It's really easy to get a varietal that doesn't have the CBG. It's easy to get a varietal that has exactly the terpene ratios, everything that you're looking for. And then we have the plant grow it. And by saying that we synthesize it and take this terpene and that terpene and we mix it together, and we're humans and we're scientists and we're going to do it better than the plant can, I just really feel like we're missing something very important here. That of course we need science to say, yeah, this terpene is good, this cannabinoid was helpful, this wasn't, but let's allow the plant to create the medicine for the people rather than science laboratories creating it. Let's get that beautiful connection to the growers and to the strains that you need, Colton, that can be grown regeneratively, that can be done well. It's the problem is that you're in Illinois and there's still all this sort of, heavy duty oppression on the plant that needs to be lifted. We need to allow the plant to do what she does and stop outsmarting her and ourselves in thinking that we're going to do a better job. That's all I'm saying. And I'm sticking up for the plants in that way. So when we talk about full spectrum, we're talking about the fullness of that particular plant. We're using that whole plant, that whole varietal.
And we agree with that. And we think that a whole plant, a whole spectrum is very beneficial for so many people. But we also see the other side of it. If we could find a plant that would be great for Colton, and we wouldn't have to take it apart, and we wouldn't have to figure out what terpenes or what cannabinoids work and what don't in his body. And that's the only thing that we grew for his medicine for people with Crohn's disease, then that would be so amazing. But like you said, everybody's different. Every body is different. And they have their own potholes, and, we have to learn how to fill them. Cannabis, I've taken cannabis a million times, and I don't see the benefits in me that I see in him, because it just doesn't work as well for me for whatever. I mean, I'm a pretty healthy person, so I don't really have a whole lot going on. But, everybody is so different. And I wish that we could just figure out like Tylenol. I mean, and I know that this is like insane, but you take 500 milligrams of Tylenol and your headache goes away. For most people, but with this plant, it's just not that way. And there's just so many varieties and so many things that you can do with it. And it's just, we're just at the cusp of learning everything that this plant can do and what is in it. We still probably have not discovered cannabinoids that is in this plant and what their powers are.
Well, you're mentioning how important the human element is in all of this, that the plant's not going to do everything for us, that we are a major factor, even in growing it, because if we're growing it with salts and we're not putting in that energy, there's a way to think that as a human, you can do better and you start growing organically and regeneratively, and that's actually better. And that was the human factor. So when you say, oh, humans think they're going to take this plant and do better, well, that's actually what we're all kind of doing with it at all times. So who's to draw the line where that should stop? All I know is the plants aren't all available at this point in time. And I hate when I see small children with neurological disorders where cannabis helped them 1 grow and then 2 grows down the line. It's not helping them the same cultivar anymore because something changed. The room got too hot. Something happened. So, I do see a value in all of it. I certainly wouldn't pick one over the other. I just think that we're so divided as humans. We constantly have to put up a fence and say, no, the grass is greener over here, or, no, it's actually greener over here. I just rip that fence down, stand on the edge and just say, look, let's be accepting of all of these different potentials, as long as they're based in love and based in trying to help and based in positivity and great, a greater, outcome for the human race. Where I'm not talking about becoming some evil corporate entity that holds these powers over the rest of the world, gets rid of all plant medicines, and I wasn't also even talking about, synthesizing as much as isolating and then restructuring. That's really kind of what I was mentioning. But I do appreciate your passion and did very much hear what you had to say.
One thing I thought what was interesting is Kelly brought up the idea of a term we use, we use broad spectrum and tea-free and these terms that are so in full spectrum. What does full spectrum mean? What types of terpenes, what types of cannabinoids are there? I do think that it needs to be further defined and further explored, and we need to better understand our varietals and how they're grown and what regions they're grown in. It's going to really help us better understand what the chemicals that the plant's producing are, what it consistently can produce and what those anomalies are. I've seen in different conditions spikes in THCA and Delta-9 that are abnormal. And when it gets to cooler temperatures and different feeding schedules, you see lower overall TAC. And all of this stuff really attributes to not only the environmental factors, but also the feeding, what you're giving the rhizosphere, what type of inoculants are available, what type of cover crop is even there to even sequester what you're trying to sequester, and then providing the environment for it to actually sequester, because that's a whole other topic in itself. And, it really is important for us to have this dialogue, and I do appreciate that point of view. And it's something we need to talk more about, because full spectrum is varietal specific. It's why we name these things. We humanize it. We get closer to trying to grab onto it with our human hands and better understand it by naming them and using naming notes and glamours and things like that. But yeah, it's super important, because the dialogue is all we have, and it allows us to kind of expand upon one another's thought processes and processes as well, how you do everything.
I agree with you. There is no
and rather than seeing, sorry, go ahead, Sam.
I was just going to say, there is no true full spectrum, in the sense that there is no one variety of cannabis that has all 150 of the terpenes and all 120 or whatever it is of the cannabinoids. It just doesn't.
Words get in the way. Words just get in the way, because as soon as you start using a word, you start going all over the place with the word.
I think it should be full spectrum, is like the whole plant. You're using that whole plant.
Most of the leading herbalists that use herbs and things with patients on the daily for generations believe that cannabis is not the only answer towards full health and transformation. Cannabis is one thing that a person would use to transform their health, and often compounding cannabis with other herbs is the actual, healing that's needed. So then now your full spectrum is including other plants. So I think the idea is that diversity is what we're missing. And if you look at a person who's really sick, a lot of times if you dissect their microbiome, they have less living organisms in their gut, enabling them to transform their nutrients and medicine.
Sure.
It's pretty easy. So you just got to say, oh, I need to up my diversity. How do I do that? Any person has their own reality and their own world and their own things that are available to them. It's just a goal when you learn things, and that's what science is good for. They teach us some things, and then you just learn through intuition to go farther. So diversity is the key to our survival and longevity.
And also,
it's merely, you go ahead.
Well, and you were saying that, we have different sides of things. I don't know if it's really different sides as much as it's holistic. What we need is more conversations, more of holistic views. We're always taught that there's this side or there's that side, or that this thing needs to be in opposition with this thing. I think that now that we've noticed so much diversity and divisiveness, not diversity as far as like diverse, but, you know, being diverse and divisive and being separated, I think that we need to realize that there's all these beautiful conversations that bring in a
This is how we
holistic
get
value.
higher. It's good. This is just good conversation.
And to accept all the different values and realize that they're all there because we're all invited.
This is our table. We're bringing everything and putting it to the table. Hi, Alice.
Perspectives would be the term more than sides.
There you go.
They're all
There you go.
perspectives.
This conversation,
we all learn a little bit.
Warm fuzzies. Just
there you go.
Nice. The
we
warm
love you,
fuzzies.
Alice, too, to see you.
Yeah, and I love everyone's dialogue that they bring to it. It's so expansive on everyone's front. Everyone has a very unique understanding of their disciplines that they've been studying respectively, and that's the beauty of it all. It's just soak it in, you know.
That's
Yep,
that
straight up.
Cannabis community. That's why we love it so much, right?
It's a growing community now. It's a changing community. For a long time, we sort of, almost held the keys to the gate, and those gates have been blown off, and the community has expanded, and it's over here and over there, and it's been some years of the cannabis core community getting used to, okay, well, look, we want it to be included. We want it to be included. We want it to be included. Then all of a sudden they included us, and everyone started criticizing everything about how it, which is natural. You're kind of trying to steer this thing or feel that you're steering a thing. But I really do welcome the rest of the world. I welcome so many people to cannabis and how they are all finding, like we mentioned with Colton earlier, like different pathways, different roadways, and more importantly, sharing those ways with us so that we can see all the incredible beneficial ways that you can use this plant. And there's 50,000 commercial purposes this plant can be used for. There's, plexiglasses and metals. There's, essential amino acid rich seed oils. And it's really quite something when you start to break it down. I'm certain if it was discovered tomorrow for the first time in the history of mankind, it would be one of the greatest discoveries ever made.
I know you're welcoming everyone, but
I can't hear you, Etienne.
Oh, can you hear me now? Good. Can't hear you now.
Yes, I can hear you.
You guys hear?
You can't
okay,
hear
then
me?
it's me.
Yeah, I was about to say. Now that you're welcoming everybody in, just beware. There's a lot of fucking sharks everywhere, so watch out. There's a lot of sharp fucking teeth, and they bite, and they take a lot of flesh. So be careful out there.
Yes, a lot of people are in the industry for all the wrong reasons, but a lot of the people most people I know are in it for all the right reasons. And those are the people that people are listening to and paying attention to. So you don't see the asshole with all the followers or all of the people getting involved. We have a job in a sense, and we have a journey, and I think it's a journey we all follow, which is just spreading the knowledge and education on how cannabis it's saved my life. It's I love preaching about it and talking about it every day wherever I go. It's kind of like, have you done a bong rip? What's wrong? Like, it's important to just keep sharing that knowledge and how it helps you. My battery's low.
Yeah, and it's really my bad. It's really important to make sure that patients are protected, and that because this whole industry is centered around the patients are really the ones that need to be taken care of the most, almost, as much, if not more, than the plant itself. There are plenty of patients out there who I'm sure are taken advantage because the people that they're getting their medicine from basically have a monopoly on their life because, say you go to one grower and it's the only, for one reason or the other, it's the only cannabis that works for you. Then you're stuck going to that one grower or that one company or wherever it is you're going to, and they can basically dictate however it is they want to give you your medicine. or whatever they want to do with their medicine, they will. So a lot of patients, you know, right. So, you know, a lot of patients need to have protections like that, you know, to make sure that their medicine isn't going to be, you know, tampered with, that it's going to be coming in consistently, effectively, and safely, that we know everything that's going into this medicine. Because
and that's the gap.
Medicine's a human right.
That's the gap that we're having. We're having even you as a patient having direct contact with the plant. You know, you being able to have this incredible relationship with the plant, because nobody can make medicine for you better than you. I think anyone who's a cultivator, anyone who understands this plant, understands that anyone, you know, and that's the problem. It's all this politics and all this oppression on this plant that's getting in the way from us to be able to have this direct good connection with the plant. And I love it that you said that, Colton, because you're absolutely right. The plant is here for the patient. Number one, the plant's number one goal is to heal humanity. And so that's what she wants to do, is to have that direct connection with patients, and it continues to get in the way. And these conversations that we're having that are very holistic in nature allows that energy to go out so that the plant can make its way into regular society, so that everybody can have that direct relationship.
And it is why we created the peer certification to ally and bring farms together for the betterment of humanity, to create safe medicine that's alive and living along with our own bodies and biomes.
And patients can have direct contact with cultivators.
And these medicine makers have been like having to survive, so they're creating medicine that survives too. So now we're all adapting and adaptogenic medicine, you know, for the masses. We hope that you can get what you need.
And there's so many cultivators that want nothing more than to be cultivating medicine directly for patients. That's their number one goal and focus. And they feel incredibly frustrated, just like you, that they can't get it to you. That's their number one thing.
Which is the biggest problem.
That's me over here.
Access, Etienne, number one. He's been, you know, walking his talk forever, his whole adult life of patient access. Yeah. How do we get the plant to the people and the people to the plant? And this is what we're all trying to break down, those barriers. Go Etienne.
And that all that red tape is just it's just strangling us as patients. And we don't want that. We would love to be able to grow. But one of the reasons why we don't grow, and somebody on this panel needs to get this done, is that we do want testing. We want to make sure that what we're growing isn't full of miracle grow here in Illinois. I mean, we're Monsanto haven, but we need that. So we always depend on a cultivator and a grower with a company, because at least we're getting tested medicine. Home testing is very, very difficult. But we need to know how many cannabinoids Colton is getting in his body, how many flavonoids are not really flavonoids, but terpenes, and if there's any microbials, and is there mold in it? Because you trust me to grow his medicine, and it's gonna get shit. I mean, it's bad. But I think that we need to have those types of small little entities that help the novice grower empower themselves to grow their own medicine. And without those little home testing kits that we can test, you know, we get afraid that we're not getting the right cannabinoids into his system. So there's just so many aspects of home grow and commercial grow and everything, and all the red tape that just strangles us as patients. And it's disheartening. It's sad.
We're all, I think it's the term is we're all learning. We're all learning. Oh. Every state's learning. Every state is learning from each other. Every bill is different, and they're all reminiscent of some bill that they heard about once. And you know, that becomes the problem, but it also becomes the path forward and how we shape that. And it's, you know, it's something that is important to know is that someone like myself that's in a regulated state, I work really hard to make sure that I have induction seals and things that keep this stuff fresh, because I know how long it takes to even get to a patient. And it just that alone boggles my mind, because coming from the traditional sense, it was immediate. It just, you never had these hurdles before. So it's, you know, the responsibility is massive. And then the testing, you know, that's super important. Like you said, you can't be ingesting mold. You're trying to solve for one problem and creating a new one. And that's just, you know, it's important to have access to labs, even for yourself. And I think, yeah, home growers should have access to all this stuff. It just gives us better insight as to what we're doing and how we can do it. You know, and it just helps us further along what we're actually after, which is better understanding the things that we just don't understand.
And I'm going to chime in here. It requires due diligence. Right now in Utah, they're trying to pull PTSD off of a condition for medical marijuana. So as forward as we are moving, there are still people trying to pull things back. So remember, eternal vigilance is the price of liberty, ladies and gentlemen, and your brothers and sisters in Utah need your help. So, you know, find local organizations, national organizations, chime in. But, you know, it's a new year, but the struggle is the same, unfortunately, for some people. And what you were also talking about, Wendy, is, you know, growing cannabis can be easy, but growing medical grade cannabis consistently is an art, and that's a challenge. And that's a thing that one of the things when I was a buyer that I used to do is, you know, a plant can tell you exactly, if you've grown it enough times, you can look at a plant and tell exactly what's going on and really freak out the grower. It's really kind of fun. Because they're like, how the hell did you get in my grow room? But the plant tells you everything. So having educated people who can give you good information around cannabis is always challenging, because every grower I know grows different. Everyone I know, you know, everybody here is nodding because, you know, everybody thinks they know how to grow it or this way, et cetera, et cetera. So it's also challenging to educate people how to grow properly when everybody grows in different ways and paths and pathologies. So depending if it's hydroponics, if it's in soil, if it's indoor, if it's outdoors, you've got different functions and different religions to each specific ones, depending on what you have and have access to. So it's also what you can afford, what you have access to. And yes, there needs to be regional players who could come in and educate, or there be regional places where people could go and learn how to grow and educate themselves, like what Positronics used to do. You know, they would propagate clones, there'd be mothers there, so you could come in and then grow your plant if you need to in a communal environment, so you could learn and teach at the same time. But of course, that was decades ago in Amsterdam and a galaxy far, far away. But it's still applicable today, is community growing, so that you can learn proper techniques, so you can arrive at the techniques that will most benefit you, so that Colton can get a better quality of cannabis from you than you had previously. Green thumbs aren't natural, they're learned.
Oh yeah, I do not have a green thumb. And one of the things that we are learning is that, you know, we moved from Illinois to Colorado for access to cannabis, and the legislative system there was, you know, they tried to pull it back, but then we moved back from Colorado to Illinois, and the ecosystem here is different. So when you have Blue Dream in Colorado, it's a different style than it is here in Illinois, because there's different growing techniques and situations. It's very humid here. It's very dry in Colorado. So when you have a Colorado grower to come in and grow your medicine in Illinois, they're running into a lot of situations that they don't understand, because they've never grown in Illinois. We have rich soil here. We have a lot of moisture in our air. So it's been so, every region is so different. So making sure that we have medicine across the United States, anywhere Colton decides to go, that is consistent, has been very, very difficult to find.
Yes, no one has pulled the Ray Kroc model where you get your same Big Mac here as you get in St. Louis. That's still always been a frustration in our 21 years of providing genetics is, you know, people want what we had last year or the year before, they didn't keep or maintain. Um, and that's also challenging because, you know, people grow differently, and you know, you can get a different yield in the lower areas of the Bay Area than you can in certain other Bay areas of the Bay Area because there's so many microclimates. There's literally more microclimates here in the Bay Area than some places in the world, so it becomes challenging just here in an area, in a region as well. It becomes challenging for consistency and maintaining or getting consistent access. From my patient's perspective is a frustration because also having stability of access to the genetics so that when somebody says this is a blue dream, it is actually a blue dream, but not something else masquerading as a blue dream, which is, I think, one of the bigger frustration a lot of us have found, especially having to forage in the traditional market, much less even in the legal market, because consistency of genetics to have the same Big Mac every single day, I still can't do after 21 years.
Right. And I think that the only way that we can actually help that progression along is interstate commerce. You know, if we can have you grow the same exact medicine for Colton and be able to send it across the state lines, then we wouldn't have this issue. So that's one of the big things that we will be pushing this year, is interstate commerce. Because like you said, there's so many different regions, and you know, the way you grow may be completely different. The way you grow Blue Dream may be completely different than what's being the way you grow Blue Dream in Illinois. But yet the Blue Dream that you grow in your area is what we like the best. So we should definitely be pushing interstate commerce, and reciprocity, and you know, just making sure that it's available and accessible across state lines and across country lines. I mean, we have a ton of people, you know, here in Canada, and we want to be able to access Canadian medicines, you know, because we're the United States and our infrastructure kind of sucks. But you know, if you grow the best, I want the best for my kid, and I want to be able to access it without having to move where you are.
And I love the idea of expanding that
And
even
we
greater
want to bring it to you
across the world,
Thank
the
you.
globe. You know,
and
imagine.
we've been crying.
Oops.
Sorry. Go Marcus, please.
I was just saying that it would be neat to do that on a world scale, like have international commerce where, you know, people who grow cannabis and extracts in different parts of the world, all over every country, being able to move those to different countries and to find certain things and have discoveries as to, you know, we speak about the importance of terroir. Well, if terroir is important, then it's likely with cannabis that certain things will express themselves, you know, more uniquely, or whatever terminology you want to use. You'll see some unique expressions from cannabis depending on where you grow it and at what time of year that you grow it. And I love the idea of interstate travel for cannabis and being able to do commerce, but I really love the idea of being able to send stuff from like Colombia to, you know, Illinois, or for you guys to be able to access stuff from everywhere in the world.
And we would love to have things from Colombia or Venezuela or wherever. I mean, just think of the ability to try different areas and different regions of the world.
That's more realistic now more than ever.
Great to be able to give you this nearly clear rosin. It's ridiculous.
The reason
I'd love to have your nearly clear rosin.
Michael Crowitz and the group down at the UN
unfortunately
changed international law over the holidays.
Yes.
They actually got cannabis pulled out of Schedule 4. So actually medical marijuana now exists in the fucking world for the first time. The DEA has still not responded to it in December. But this now opens up things internationally. On top of that, hey, Georgia, we're looking at you. If the state of Georgia passes and gets both these Democrats elected, then you're going to see a MORE Act, and you will see interstate commerce open up within the year here in the United States. But if it doesn't, then it's going to be fought all the way through. But a lot of changes, a lot of places you can plug in to make a lot of change happening, not only internationally because of medical marijuana now being internationally recognized by the UN and the World Health Organization. I want to be able to import Canadian cannabis, and we want to be able to export our California cannabis as well, so we could have genetics exchange, all that fun stuff. So I think 2021 and in the future, a lot of stuff's opening up, but definitely interstate commerce domestically could potentially happen soon.
Awesome.
And hopefully we'll continue to push that education forward and that conversation forward, because just like you all are looking for the right medicine, we as cultivators want nothing more than to find the right patients. So when CBD is opened up and we are doing our myco canna caps, I have direct contact with all of my patients. I'm able to talk to them on a human level. What's going on? What's happening? It's all freed up. It's direct. It's from the grower, the manufacturer, the maker, directly to the patients. So we can have these conversations. So in my garden, I could have, okay, these 3 plants I'm growing for Colton. Not only am I growing them for the varietal that he wants, but I'm thinking about him as I'm growing them, and I'm growing enough for him to have for an entire year, that he's not going to run out, that he's not continually looking for something. So I want to continue pushing that conversation forward too, that the cultivators are having direct conversation and communication and education with the patients worldwide.
I would just like to also say, like, often cannabis is fumigated when you bring it from another country, which completely goes counterintuitive to everything that you've done to put into the medicine. So let's keep cannabis from being fumigated and keep it medicine. Let's keep cannabis sacred and keep cannabis as medicine. So as we're fighting for this international, marketplace, let's be aware that a lot of herbs and foods get fumigated with chemicals when they enter the shores of a new country. And Alice probably has something to say about international.
And Alice, it's nice to see you. What's going on, girlfriend?
Nice to see you all too. I said to Marcus, sorry I came in late, but my cat dropped all my transplants, so I had to fix it. And I was actually wanting to bring up something too, because every time I come here, most of the people that are here are either North Americans, right? Are either from United States or from Canada. And I love to come here and listen to all the conversations. But I feel that you are all so many steps ahead than we are in Brazil, even though I live in California now, that I just love to come here, learn everything. Sometimes I even take notes so I can just rethink on how this could be applied. South American perspective. And a few things that you brought up today that I really loved is this, that you were talking about the education and the fact that the person that grows can also have a connection with the patient. And now in Brazil, they're trying to pass a bill that only the government and importations would be possible to produce cannabis somehow, or deliver cannabis to patients, and no home growing at all. So no one can have the connection with the medicine itself or grow for themselves. And I see how this just takes the full-on power autonomy of the patient. I talk I'm a cannabis patient too, but I balance in between being a patient because of my chronic pain and also being someone that uses that likes dabs, that likes high THC content things, different terpene profiles, and trying to balance that thing. And it's just so hard when we think of it for someone from South America in a reality like this. And I just love to come here and just learn everything and try to engage and translate this knowledge for the people down there with the possibilities that are, offered down there. So thank you so much for all the I'm just listening today. I'm just almost taking notes here.
Well, we're happy to have you, Alice. I was kind of sad when I didn't see a few key folks. Dr. Mark never made it today. We hope and wish him a happy new year and that everything's okay with him, because I know he had planned on making it. But
he had a birthday too.
Is that what? Yeah, he did, didn't he? He just had a birthday, an Earth Strong for Dr.
Happy
Mark.
belated.
So, yes, Hashy belated
Dr. Mark
birthday.
also lives in an area that used to be the mushroom capital of the world. And I was hoping he would be in today so we could talk a little bit about Kennett Square and see if that has any roots in the world at large, what's happening.
It'll
have to wait till next week, I suppose.
Can I bring up one subject, since I arrived here late and I said like less, but it's just that now I'm stoned and tripping, and I just something crossed my mind, which is we were talking about education and cannabis, right? And we recognize cannabis as this mother plant and this very medicinal plant too. But a lot of people, and I think that all of us are aware of, that do not use the plant medicinally. They create different patterns. They create different relationships with the plant that sometimes their actions, their daily tasks, their behavior towards the plant does not create a healthy setting or a healthy environment for the people. And that's something that I almost don't hear about here in the United States. I feel like in Brazil, when we're engaging content about cannabis and things like this, we always try to bring up this perspective too, which is almost harm reduction, right? Coming with the good things and the bad things and how to balance them. And I would like to hear from all of you something that it's hard for us to hear. I would like for you all to tell me something negative about cannabis. And because I think that that's a thing that engages in the education, in balancing harms and risks. And I wanted to talk about this with you all because 2 months ago, we made a post on Girls in Green and a content based on that we have to talk about the negative effects of cannabis. And it was the thing that most engaged lately, because that's something that few people were talking about. And I just wanted to bring it up here for a discussion too, if it's possible.
I have
it's a
something
great
to say
idea.
about that.
Go ahead, Wendy.
So I was the dare mom. We established that earlier. But when it came to Colton being a patient of Crohn's and on pharmaceutical medicines, I saw more harm on pharmaceuticals than I have on cannabis. Not to say that there isn't any type of harm, but I haven't found any. And I think it's a mindset. I think that because we have villainized this plant for so long, that people push off a lot of negativity towards a person that does use cannabis. There's a Facebook group. It's called Parents Opposed to Pot. And they just push the negativity so bad. When, as a parent with a kid that was 13 when he started using cannabis, which I never thought in a million years that I would do, I just don't see a whole lot of negative other than the mentality of other people that are against it still. So if we can educate everyone about the benefits of it, I think that you would see less harm than using the plant. I think the negatives, stigma of it is really what makes it worse.
And I think that, with everybody who has tried cannabis, there hasn't really been anybody that had a bad effect from it, as far as, somebody, getting sick from it, as in,
you're not going to get cancer.
You're not going to get cancer or anything from it. Obviously, there are some cannabinoids that have some effects that you don't want to have. Like, I can't have THCV. It's an appetite suppressant. I would lose a lot of weight. That, not good for someone with a wasting syndrome. But it's not to say that THCV is bad. It's not bad. It's doing exactly what it's designed to do, which is to suppress your appetite. But there are obviously, some people that should back off from that cannabinoid and go to other cannabinoids instead.
And I think everybody can have a bad trip.
Right.
And like Dragonfly was saying earlier, they you have to have good medicine. You can't have all of these chemicals. You can't have all of these things. And I think that with education and good growing habits and less monopoly when it comes to these huge companies that want to just take over and make billions and billions of dollars, I think that that's where we need to start, is making sure that people are educated, understand that, yeah, you know, if you have a bad trip, it could have been because they're using Monsanto pesticides in your medicine, and that it wasn't just it could have just been a fluke, that we have an endocannabinoid system and that we need to nourish it and we need to keep it saturated. But I think that it is all encompassing of education.
I think so too. And I just wanted to bring up one thing, that it's a different perspective to you, Colin, too. Like when you're in South America or in Brazil, no one knows which cannabinoid they're consuming. They're buying brickweed. And that's something that I like to bring up here because it's such a different perspective. When I asked about the negative effects of cannabis, is the negative effects of cannabis and prohibition is itself too, that in a non-legalized setting, we have all these other layers that doesn't have a market. There are no testings at all. You brought the testing so much today, how it is important for a medical patient. And over there, people medicate themselves with whatever weed they can find because they recognize weed as something medicinal. So they are doing canna butter out of brickweed with a lot of like chemicals on it. And they're giving the cookies trying to give the cookies to their grandma. And sometimes it's not exactly positive for them. So I believe in you with the education, right? It's the tool so people can balance if it's good or bad for them.
I would add that, and I wouldn't say it's necessarily bad, but I would say that for certain mental health afflictions, here in North America at least, I've seen cannabis not be helpful. And what I mean by that is like how we even deal with mental health in the first place, and how it's so just swept under the rug, and it's fine if you have a big tumor growing on your neck, people will feel bad for you and they'll care for you. But if you have something twisting in your mind that you're having difficulties with, people don't really have as much patience for that stuff. They get scared for their own well-being with certain mental health afflictions. And it's really, that is the major problem, that we're not, this missing psychedelic component for taking care of people. And like, I think it was, it was one of the guys that Dragonfly Earth Medicine had on, who I guess he takes people through psychedelic journeys. And he was really interesting. He was talking about the importance of bringing people back to their moments of trauma, holding them, in your arms while they're in that moment of whatever their trauma is. You could be a little baby that was getting left in the room because some book said it was a good idea to make your baby sleep away from you for the first night of its life. It's like, what a crazy thing to convince mothers of, but it happens. And so, there's all of these different things with mental health that we've got these major problems. And I think if we can take care of that with the missing component that is psychedelic plant medicines and fungi, that we'll see maybe less of it. But I have seen some people who have used cannabis almost in an addictive way, smoking it like crazy amounts throughout the day. And you can see that it wasn't being helpful. I had a roommate who actually had to stop eventually because it was really just, it was too much for him, especially the way he was using it. And I felt that from that relationship, I've learned that because I use it I am an anomaly to a lot of people in the amounts that I use it, maybe not to you people here on this particular panel, but to a lot of people, they'll get together with me and I'll always say, listen, like, you don't have to keep up. This isn't a keeping up thing. Like, I don't want you to, to feel that every time I have a little dab, that you also should have a little dab. And, that relationship with my old roommate really taught me that, be aware that everyone's going through different things and that, everyone has different capabilities. So that's what I would say about that, Alice.
I will speak on two. One, I will speak directly to what you spoke toward, Marcus, because there is studies that have shown that people who do have multiple personality disorders or schizophrenia, it does allow using of cannabis allows them to slip more lucidly in between their personalities. I've seen VA studies regarding this specific. and a newer, more interesting one that is somewhat controversial, which is cannabinoid hyperemesis syndrome, which causes chronic nausea. I had a friend of mine, daughter, she was 16 and using cannabis. She got there on the islands in Hawaii and just became chronically nauseous every time she smoked cannabis, to the point where she had to go to the hospital. People are finding that, and a small percentage of the community are finding that, cannabis does not work for them. Some people are allergic, and this most recent one, I would ask Dr. Draisin, are you familiar with the cannabinoid hyperemesis syndrome?
Yeah, I am. It's interesting though. It seems, at least in some of the patients that I work with, it seems to be THC that causes it more so than CBD. And so some of our oncology patients will switch them when they have these the kind of type of reactions to cannabis. We will switch them to like a CBD, and they don't seem to have the same kind of like nausea, physical pain that the hyperemesis seems to bring with high THC.
I've also read a study that it had some of it could have had to do with neem oil, and I don't know about that. But
I've heard that theory come up.
I've heard that theory too, but no confirmation, just to science to back that up. It's all hearsay and conjecture at this time. If there's a study that backs it up, I'll be happy to cite it. Alice, you have.
Well, I've been doing a bunch of study, research and looking up on hyperemesis syndrome. And what we're also finding is that it's sort of becoming an overlay, maybe like a whitewash, if you will, sort of like fibromyalgia. You come in with pain, and doctors are really, they need to have a diagnosis. It's part of the medical industry to give you a diagnosis, so they have to give you something. So hyperemesis syndrome has been coming up a lot. They'll ask people, do you smoke? They're having a lot of puking. We're also finding that within those people, if we ask further questions, can you please test the enzymes of the stool and of the blood for gallbladder? A lot of these people are having gallbladder issues simultaneously. And is the endocannabinoid system sparking something? Also, THCA isn't seemingly reacting in the same way. So, I just wanted to further what you were saying, Allison. THC, yes, has been very active with whatever this syndrome or reaction is. THCA has not been so much like CBD also. So there's a lot of information out there that we just don't know enough about, as well as terpenes. I know, Collin, you would probably have a lot to say about this. There's people who are reacting directly to terpene consumption. And when we grow plants that are very, very low in terpenes, those people who have these symptoms and symptomatic effects from certain high aromatics of cultivars, when we reduce those aromatics, they do much better. So there's a lot of unknowns.
There's also anecdotal evidence that we've seen in family that have had hyperemesis really bad, will smoke it, come back from a weekend of smoking other herb that's wherever at an event, and then have some of our herb that we grew and not have any effects of it at all. So it's definitely common to find cannabis with chemicals. So one of the harms with cannabis might be that it's a dynamic accumulator, and one of the harms is it uptakes bad attitudes, right, and chemicals. Right. And those bad attitudes and chemicals react in our body. It's also wisdom weed. So sometimes it brings out the ailments that we need to pay attention to. So sometimes if you smoke weed and you get an adverse ailment, it might be a window towards something else that might be happening. And so one other thing is, another harm to cannabis would be maybe to say that it's the one thing that can heal you. So one thing that's harmful is it's not the only thing that can heal you. It's one of the things that you use along with health, well-being, exercise, community, connectivity, diversity, and love.
Food.
And that food, juicing, those
Definitely.
things.
I mean,
and music
those
in your life.
those things are definitely, yes. Those things are definitely something that we learn coming into, we're newbies at cannabis still. I mean, we've been involved in this situation for 7 years. Colton decided now to not just have Crohn's disease, but have massive migraine headaches, and cannabis isn't touching them. So it is the all encompassing. It's your whole well-being. It is music. It is love. It is psychedelics. It is conventional medicines. It is cannabis. It's everything. And you just have to find what that is, and enjoy it and be in the moment with it.
It's not an all or nothing system. There are people that use, cannabis alongside their pharmaceutical regimens, and they're having great success with it. So it's always about what you as an individual need for your body. It's never about, oh, well, everybody is doing this, so I'll do it that way too. Even though, a lot of people may be taking the same medicine that you are, it doesn't mean that you have to be taking it the same way, or you have to be taking the same amount. Your body requires different things. So don't be afraid of only using one thing to meet those qualifications.
Or using multiple things to meet those qualifications, because that's the journey that we're going to be heading on, with his migraines, is trying to find, to see if psilocybin would be beneficial for Colton's migraines. Cannabis doesn't. So it's obviously not the perfect solution for his body when it comes to his migraines, but it is a great solution for his Crohn's disease. So I think using everything in your arsenal and in the world that you can get your hands on is definitely beneficial.
And with no stigma, right? That's the thing.
No stigmas. I think that's a really big thing.
It changes the experience that the person's gonna have. Like if you're in a prohibitionist setting, there's a way more of a possibility that if you take a psychedelic, you're gonna go into a difficult trip. Doesn't have to be a bad trip, right? But a difficult time, because you're gonna go through that. It's prohibited. Okay, my mom doesn't know I'm here. I'm taking something that no one knows. I don't know what the fuck this is because I don't know what's in there. And I mean, so there's a lot of things that connect to that. And there's
definitely your mental that's your mental capacity, and your mental state is definitely something that would react to negatively towards your trip if you were in like, oh my gosh, am I going to get caught? That's one of the reasons why we thought, okay, moving to Colorado, where we're safe, where we have access, where mentally we're relaxed, that it's going to make his opportunity for health better. I think mental stigma is a huge thing.
Mm-hmm. Most dangerous thing about cannabis is getting caught with it.
Yeah, that's true. And there's one thing that Marcus shared about like mental health that, I graduated in psychology before I changed my life to grow weed. But two subjects that I see cannabis as a tool to help out, but also if it's used improperly as a tool to make you go even deeper in the hole, is anxiety and depression too. And it all depends on what you were all saying, especially Damn Pure, that brings this holistic experience that it's not only the cannabis itself, right? It's everything that comes with it, all your daily habits and things like this. But with people that have like severe anxiety, consuming higher THC profiles can even be a factor that help them like have one more of an anxiety crisis. But different cannabinoids with different ways of consuming it can help out settle down and to calm down too. So it's very crazy that just the knowledge and the education towards the plant can change the whole experience you can get with it. And I just wanted to shine a light on this too, because mental illness and every medicine, it doesn't matter if it's cannabis or if it's an antidepressive medicine. It's like from the traditional, sorry, my English is kind of sucks sometimes, but from like this traditional medical environment, every person, it's subjective, and every person's going to create an experience towards that. So with cannabis, it's the same thing, and it has to be taken care of and seen and taken care of by a community, not only by a psychiatrist, not only by a doctor that only sees the symptom. And I think that cannabis at this point, I wanted to bring up the subject about the good and the bad parts of cannabis, because I think that that creates a setting while someone has the autonomy to balance everything and make a choice. Like, oh, okay, I'm in Colorado, so I can make these choices. Or I'm in Brazil, so I can make exactly the choices I wanted, but I have to go with the flow of what I have here. And I just wanted to bring this up and bring this subject up.
I'd like to.
And I appreciate it. Go ahead, Wade.
Yeah, I love the question. Great one, Alice. I've seen two potential problems, if you will, with using cannabis. One of them is overdose. Cannabis has a really strong biphasic effect where you get certain effects and experience at low doses, but when you increase the dose, particularly if you use the example of somebody who takes brickweed and makes cookies and gives it to their grandmother, and grandmother gets like 150 milligrams of THC, and she never wants to talk about cannabis again. And she's lost the opportunity to experience some of the healing effects that cannabis can offer. And I think that's a problem. And that's about education, which has come up a number of times today. The other place that I've seen cannabis potentially be a problem is at the right dose and the right chemistry. Cannabis has really remarkable properties to relieve pain. And pain is actually a message from your body to stop doing what's causing the pain. And I know from personal experience that you can use cannabis to the point where you can hurt yourself. And that's a problem. And again, that's an education thing. It's helping people understand how cannabis interacts with our endocannabinoid system and how it can help our bodies not just heal trauma from injury or overuse, but really help our bodies find the condition we call wellness or health. And I'm really excited about something I've been doing a lot, and I want to throw this in here. I've created an education program for a local dispensary here. And part of that program is to help the consumer who doesn't know much at all about cannabis other than, well, if you smoke a joint, you get high. Help a consumer to understand how cannabis wellness might work in their life. And also part of the program is for the wellness associates, the people who are doing the transactions in the dispensary, helping them to understand what does cannabis as a wellness product, not just as a medicine, but as a wellness product. It's helping people find this wholeness that we call health. And it is possible to have that. And mental health, particularly with the COVID and so many people being forced into isolation, mental health, I think, is a huge issue. And I think the conversation today has been really fruitful in this way. I'm looking forward to more people having access to the educational thing that I've been putting together, because I'm really excited about it. I've realized I'm trying to address a perceived need where people don't really understand what we talk about when we speak of cannabis as medicine. And I wanted to touch on one other thing that was said earlier in the conversation about isolates and concentrates. And I'm a big fan of the cannabinoids, but really because we're talking about patients and patient well-being, every person's ECS is different and every person responds differently to cannabis preparations. So it's really important for opportunity to be available to people, for seeds to get out to as many people as possible and let them start trying to find the plant that's going to work for them, because this plant will assert itself, herself, in knowing you and providing the medicine, the chemistry that is, again, the genetics of this plant. Like you mentioned, Blue Dream. Pardon my rant. I know I'm taking up a lot of time right at the end of the show, but I'm really excited about it. Blue Dream, does really well in certain parts of California. I can imagine in Illinois, where the environmental conditions are very different, the genetics of that plant would give you a completely different result. And yeah, analytical testing is really an essential thing. So on that note, Happy New Year, everyone, and much love and much respect to each of you, and I'll stop ranting now. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Wade. I didn't think of that as a rant at all, but it was a great way to kind of end out the show, sort of polish it off. My little son is anxious for me to go spend the afternoon with him, and I'm actually very anxious to go spend the afternoon with him. So I want to thank everyone. If you are into it, we can continue this next Sunday and have more discussions about everything that we just talked about. I am going to figure out a kind of behind the scenes separate show for the mushroom, the traversing the fungal terpenome, as Josh hooked us up with earlier. That'll be the new mushroom show, the first of its kind on Bubble Man's World. What's that, Alice?
I said I wanna come because I started the mushroom too because of anxiety and things like this. I started the microdosing, and
okay,
results I've been feeling very great with that. It's been very good, and always the damn pure hot cocoa too, together with the microdose. But it's been great. I can talk of it as a psychedelic. How do you say it? But the person that goes through the experience, like not the
Yes.
grower, not the cultivator, but someone that has been going through it. It's been great.
Wonderful. Well, listen, I'll let you guys all say goodbye. I will invite you all back next week so we can continue this conversation. And for sure, I want to invite Mark back next week because we didn't talk about the hash church cultivar. We're like just kind of easing into it slow. So you're going to come back next week. We're going to start with that and talk about that cultivar. You can give us the breakdown on how it came to be and its parental stock and all of that goodness. I'll share some macro photographs and some information in regards to working with it, pressing rosin, sifting it, bubbling it. Definitely want to talk with you more, Dr. Allison. It was great to reconnect with you and everyone, all of you. It was amazing to spend 2021, January 3rd, Sunday morning with all of you. It was wonderful. Now we've taken it right into the afternoon. So I'll just let you, in whatever order you want, share how to get in touch with you, your Instagram and whatnot, where people can check you out. And we'll finish it off like that. I'm BC Bubbleman on Instagram. This is Bubble Man's World. Thank you all for watching. I'm going to let the panelists tell you how to find them.
I'll jump in. Etienne Fontan, ATN420 at yahoo.com, or definitely for sure on the socials, ATN420.
I'm Dr.
Wade, House of Harlequin.
Sorry.
Go right ahead.
I'm Dr. Alison D on Instagram, 1L. I'm also Draisin at aimsinstitute.net, www.aimsinstitute.net to find out more about what we do in our Seattle clinic.
houseofharlequin.com just got created. And there's more content coming to it. And Instagram is House of Harlequin, spelled Haus, but we'll probably change that one of these days as well. Anyway, much love and much respect. Thank you.
Collin Palmer.
Thanks
for having me,
Collin,
guys, from Vessel Life Science. As always, Marcus, amazing, everyone, Brian, House of Harlequin, Etienne, Josh and Kelly, always awesome to hear your perspectives and all your knowledge. Skunk Man, as always, thank you so much for being who you are, and get in touch, everyone. See you guys soon.
Thank you again so much for having us. It really is a blast every time we're on here. You can get a hold of us and check out my journey on Facebook or on Instagram at Colton's Crew. That's Colton with a Y and crew like Motley Crue. Be sure to get a hold of us there if you have any questions. And thank you so much again.
We also have the Colton Turner Foundation. That's the www.coltonturnerfoundation.org. And if you want to get a hold of, people that are doing research, we would love to attach everyone together to do that. So thank you so much, Hash Church. Thank you, Marcus. Thank you, everyone. It's always incredible to be listening and part of your conversations. I love this. Thank you.
Give thanks, family.
Thanks, everyone.
Go best friend, and we need to talk soon anyway, off on a different realm, but say goodbye. Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you. Thanks for the time. Love listening to everybody. You guys always teach me so much, for sure. So thanks for everything. And yeah, happy to share again soon. Hope to do it again. Take care. Happy New Year. BestFriend Farms at gmail.com, and then Instagram is at BestFriend Farms.
I'm gonna jump in here. Everybody knows I'm 420 Weedmaster Instagram. Just grow for 2021 in so many different ways. If you can't grow your plant, grow your mind, grow your life, grow your journey. Mike wants to jump in here. He's gonna probably say a few words.
Well, happy New Year. Happy New Year, everyone. Enjoy. Have a great day in success and everything that you do. And hey, grow in good health.
Thanks, guys. Peace.
See you all. I'm Alice, and I have this educational project that you can all find at @girlsingreen710 or the website www.girlsingreen.com, or Alice on Instagram with 6 eyes. I know it's weird, but go follow Girls in Green. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Marcus, Josh, and Kelly. It was great to see you. Happy New Year for everyone. Happy Hashy year for everyone. Much love. Thank you.
And big love to the Wook Sauce Winery in the background, making it happen in the kitchen. What's up with my man Flynn?
We just got here actually at home, brought from the farmer's market. So yeah.
Had to get the mushrooms. You can only get them once a week at the farmer's market. You had to get them.
So thank you so much, everyone who is here. We appreciate you all. You can find us at Dragonfly Earth Medicine on Instagram, or on YouTube, or online, or DEMPureFarms.com to learn more about the DEM Pure certified community.
Or follow the hashtag DEM Pure. And I just wanted to take a second to just so much heartfelt to every one of you. Marcus, for continually putting this on. I have so much respect and love for all the different perspectives, all the different ways that we all get, to this medicine. What an incredible together from all different facets of life. And I'm so thankful. Happy New Year to everybody.
Happy New Year, guys. Thanks. This is the first time on the show, so it's been super cool to be on the other side. Mad respect to you all for sure. You can find me at trichrome_farmer.lb. Have a good day, guys. Happy New Year.
Thank you, everyone, for spending time. I'm going to go hang out with this guy, and much love to everybody. Thanks a lot. We'll talk to you soon.
Peace, man.